Hello everyone. Welcome in to Adobe Live on the top of the morning. My name is Voodoo Val and I am super excited to be here with my friend Jesus. Jesus Ramirez, how are you doing today?
I am doing fabulous, Val. How about yourself?
I'm doing excellent. I'm very excited about what we are going to be doing today. As you can see below, we've got Photoshop 2025 features and techniques you need to know, which I think you are the perfect person to usher us through this. But first, just in case there's any new faces in the chat, maybe you can tell us a little bit about you and show us some of your work.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, in case you don't know me, again, my name is Jesus Ramirez, and I'm just looking at the screen there. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to Adobe Live. It caught my eye, so I had to mention it. Anyway, in case you don't know me, my name is Jesus Ramirez. I run a YouTube channel called the Photoshop Training Channel, where, surprisingly enough, I teach Photoshop. So if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Photoshop Training Channel is the YouTube channel. I'm also a working professional artist, and I think that might be one of the differentiating factors between me and other YouTubers, is that I'm actually still currently doing professional work at a high level. I primarily work on movie posters and TV posters.
Okay.
So you can see some of the recent projects that I've worked on. Actually, there's one missing that I should update. I just thought about it. But anyway, some of these shows you might have seen. To be quite honest, I don't think I've ever worked on a show that I've seen prior to working on it. So
really,
yeah.
Okay.
Like I've never seen Papa's House till I worked on it. I've never seen. I'm aware of Frasier. Old like a spin-off of an older TV show. Aware of it, but never actually saw the show. But anyway, so I get to work on a lot of these movie posters. Some of these I don't work on them by myself. I do have other designers that I work with. For example, this one here, Good Sam on CVS, I worked with a good friend of ours, Lisa Carney. This one I worked on with other artists as well. So it's the type of work that I do. It involves a lot of Photoshop, a lot of retouching, and it involves a lot of the new tools that we're going to be talking about. Because
nice.
a lot of designers nowadays worry about AI taking over your work. And while that may be true at some point, I don't think it's true today.
Yeah.
And to give you a perfect example of working on this Frasier project, there's actually a lot of Gen AI in this poster, but you will never be able to tell where. And that's because I don't put in a prompt that says, show me Frasier, squirting whatever that is onto that plant. Usually what it is retouching. For example, there was a really bad wrinkle here. Gen AI was able to fix that in just moments compared to old techniques like frequency separation and cloning and dodging, burning, all that stuff. I was able to take care of it with just literally one swipe. So that's really where Gen AI comes in for me in my workflow, and I'm going to show you some of those techniques today.
Awesome. Just a note about your work. It might actually be better that you haven't seen the shows beforehand, because then you can come into it with like a real technical eye, right?
Sure.
Because if someone was like, "Hey Val, design us a poster for Star Wars,"
oh,
I would
God.
be like,
yeah.
"Oh no."
Yeah. I've never done a Spider-Man poster, but if somebody ever asked me to do a Spider-Man poster, I would be so obsessed with it that it probably wouldn't be good.
That's again exactly. Yeah, I would probably obsess over it and hyper focus on it until it was like a poster for me and not a poster for the world.
Yeah. Because like I know what Spider-Man's really like,
Yeah. Hey, there's too many Kylo Rens in this Star Wars poster.
There you go.
So yeah, let's jump into it for today. I'm excited.
Yeah, and actually before we completely jump into it, I do want to mention that there is a new version of Photoshop 2025, and then just released is the ability to unlock collaborations inside of Photoshop. It's not fully available yet, so if you do want to get access to it, make sure you go to this blog page. The link should be in the chat. I think Wade might post it in the chat, or someone will post it in the chat soon. But go to this Adobe blog post on adobe.com, and you can scroll down and click on sign up to test live co-editing. That allows you and a fellow designer to work on the same project. And I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about it. I know you used it yourself.
Yeah. I've been able to test it out, and there's a lot of stuff that you can do with it. I'm sure that a lot of people are kind of like thinking of doing graphic design projects with a team, maybe. You could even go through, kind of letting your clients or your creative director take a peek at your files and everything. But as an illustrator, I found it really, really unlocked kind of a whole new level of collaboration, especially as somebody who is like, I do Drawing a Blank with Cody Bear and all those stuff. And we thought, like this is a really great opportunity to like draw together and do art challenges together and make things fun and exciting. So I've been having a great time with it, and I'm excited to see what everybody else starts doing with it as well, because I'm sure there's stuff that you and I haven't even brainstormed that could be a possibility. As is the case with new features, sometimes people are like, I didn't mean for you to use it that way, but there you go.
But yeah, exactly right. And I see the link in the chat, so thank you so much for posting that, Wade. Make sure you click on the link on the chat now to sign up for the Photoshop beta that will allow you to test the live co-editing in Photoshop, which is fantastic.
You won't regret it.
You will not regret it. It looks super, super cool. But anyway, so why don't we jump into Photoshop and check out some of the latest new features and what they're all about.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite new features in Photoshop 2025 is the upgrade to the remove tool, which is found here under the spot healing brush. So I love the spot healing brush. So it used to be my favorite tool. It still is. I still use it for some things. But we have a brand new tool called the remove tool. The remove tool itself is about 1.5 years old, but it has new features in Photoshop 2025 that are super, super cool. So let me show you what those features are. First of all, when you have an image like this, you can, of course, come on top of a distracting object that you want to remove and then resize your brush. By the way, I'm super old school. This is how I can tell you've been using Photoshop for a while. If you use the bracket keys to resize the brush.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, because the younger generation uses that other keyboard shortcut that I don't even have memorized. It's like Control, Alt, and then right-click, and then they do this.
I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, Control, Alt, right-click, and then you have this way of scaling the brush, which is great, right? But I'm old school, so I go with the bracket keys. By the way, if you're in North American keyboards, the brackets are found to the right of the letter P. In other variations of keyboards across the world, they might be in different areas, and I just don't know them all, so I can't tell you where it would be.
They're at.
Yeah, but in North American keyboards, they're to the right of the letter P.
I didn't even know that was a thing. And I do have to say, I really appreciate that when something new is introduced to Photoshop, they don't forget about us.
Yeah.
They don't make it the only way to do it now, because I feel like I'm doing stuff differently. I'm making clipping masks differently than the new way to make clipping masks, because if it's not broke, I'm not going to change.
Yeah. And by the way, the keyboard shortcut for that was Alt on Windows, Option on the Mac, right-click, up and down, and then you can increase the diameter of your brush size.
Okay.
So that's just one of the, it's just Photoshop evolving. The other thing that you can do, is if you hold Alt and Shift, you get access to the color picker. So you can come in and select the color picker. And this is not new, by the way. I'm just saying that this is how I know that this is a new user using Photoshop, because I don't use I'm just old school.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, because we're old school.
Yeah. I've been using Photoshop since 2004.
Yeah, 2002 for me.
Yeah.
So this didn't exist. So I'm just muscle memory for me is bracket keys, and obviously coming into the foreground color picker and just doing it that way. But those new features are there, for people to use. And when I see people using those features, in my mind, I go, this is probably a new user, just because muscle memory for us is the old way.
Yeah. Wade is in the chat saying, I love how Jesus said, I don't even know the new hotkey, then proceeds to use the new hotkey shortcut and tells us the new hotkey.
Okay, so
he knows everything.
So I have a silly story about that. If you would ask me, what is the hotkey for doing?
My hand
yeah,
moves.
I don't know. But then I do it, and I'm like, oh, okay. So my hand knows it is this.
When I stream, that happens every single time. I have to, sometimes if somebody asks me and I'm not at my computer, I will put my hand on a table and do the hotkey, and I'm like, okay, what is that? Because I have the muscle memory of the movement, but I don't. I couldn't explain it to you.
Yeah, you couldn't. Yep, exactly. But anyway, so remove tool. What is new? The biggest new feature, I would say, is the Generative AI off, on, or auto. According to Adobe HelpX, which is, by the way, I'm just gonna tell you guys about this. If you ever want to figure something out about Adobe, just go to Google, right? Google.com, and then just type in HelpX, and then type in, like I already had done it in the past, remove tool. HelpX is the official website where it's basically like Adobe's manuals for all their products. So then when you click on, helpx.adobe.com/remove tool, you'll go into a page that tells you all about that particular tool. The reason that I wanted to show you this particular page at the moment is so that I could tell you this. The default mode, and I'll talk about what that means in a moment, for the remove tool is set based on the terms of use of acceptance and chooses from the best technology to fill each area. What does that mean?
Okay.
The default is, who knows, depending on your settings, right? So I'm not going to talk about what the default setting is. I'm just going to talk about what the settings are. But anyway, so if you ever want to get super nerdy about like what something does, just type in HelpX and then, remove tool, clone stamp tool, and you'll find all the keyboard shortcuts and all of that. And I've actually written some articles for HelpX. So you might, if you see my name at the bottom, then that's one I worked on. I haven't done too many, but I probably have done like 20 or something. Anyway. So what is mode? Mode allows you to use generative AI or not, or just do auto, and Photoshop will determine to use generative AI or not.
Okay.
Why would you want to use generative AI and why wouldn't you? Well, first of all, generative AI is going to give you better results on larger areas with intricate detail, but it's going to take a little longer because now Photoshop needs to process that image via the cloud. So it goes up to the cloud, processes the image, and then brings it back, which could be great for certain things, but maybe not so great if you're trying to remove a small blemish, because you don't need generative AI for that.
No.
So in that case, you would just leave it off, and then it would just do the processing on your computer, which is infinitely faster, but maybe not as good for larger areas. Or you can leave it set to auto, and then Photoshop can decide for you, completely up to you. So I think this is a fantastic drop-down that you need to keep in mind. So for now, just so you can see, I'm gonna leave it at off, right? So then what I'm gonna do now is, you see how right now I'm trying to resize my brush and it's not doing it? It's because the box here is active, and I know it might be difficult to see, but it's that it has that blue, the blue highlight. If you just tap the enter key, it commits that change. So now the blue highlight is off, and now I should be able to resize my brush. Also, in some cases, you can just use my favorite keyboard shortcut of all Photoshop, which I like to call the whoopsie daisy key. The whoopsie daisy key just means that you do something and Photoshop's not working. If you press the escape key on the very top right, or excuse me, very top left of your keyboard, North American keyboards, you'll hit the escape key and it just undoes whatever you were doing. So for example, if you are in the home screen, whoopsie daisy, escape key brings you right back. Or if you accidentally open up a window, whoopsie daisy, the escape key gets you out. So no matter where you are and you enter an area you don't want to be in, hit escape and it brings you right back. So I use that keyboard shortcut all the time, and I just call it whoopsie daisy because I'll make a mistake, whoopsie daisy, escape. Anyway, so generative AI off. The other checkbox is not on by default, so you do have to enable it, is sample all layers. What that means is that right now, if I were to create an adjustment here, like removing this cone, Photoshop will do a really good job, but I did it on that layer, and you usually want to work non-destructively, especially in the professional environment that I work in. You have to keep everything non-destructive, because if this was a movie poster, the art director might come back and say, you know what, I like that cone, bring it back. But if I do it on one layer, now I can't. So you always want to work non-destructively, so you can just create a new layer, and by enabling sample all layers, you can work on that empty layer. So for example, if I were to paint now, Photoshop says that it can't because there's nothing there. So sample all layers, and then you click and you drag, and it does a really good job. One thing to note is it was fast, and that's because we had generative AI off. So for small things like this, I would just recommend working with generative AI off, and then if there's something that's not giving you good results, at that point, you might want to try turning it on, just for the sake of speed. If you don't mind waiting, a minute for every brushstroke, then by all means leave it on. But I don't see the need for that. So another very, very interesting feature that I really liked, and I actually was working on the beta for this tool with Adobe, and this was I'm not saying it's there because of me, but that was one of the things I recommended, which is remove after each stroke checkbox. What that allows you to do is a couple things. It allows you to paint over multiple things, and then it doesn't commit the changes. See that? See how I'm painting and letting go of that mouse button? So it doesn't commit the changes. I can continue painting on multiple objects without committing the changes. By the way, if you make a mistake like so, you can hold Alt on Windows, Option on the Mac, and then you can just paint away those imperfections, right? So that you don't accidentally paint away things you don't want to.
That's so perfect, because I always run into that issue where I'm like drawing a shape and then I'm like, well, if I release, then I'm done, and I like really would like to get like an intricate shape down, you know, right
exactly,
the first time, and just do it all instead of doing it in pieces.
Yeah.
So that's amazing.
Yep.
I love it.
Yep. So then once you're done, you can do two things. Use the keyboard shortcut to commit the changes, enter on Windows, or return on the Mac. Or if you don't want to remember the keyboard shortcuts, you can just click on the checkbox right up here on the top right.
Nice.
And it commits that change. And see how fast it was? And it's really, really good. You can click on the eye icon to see the before and the after. And we didn't need to use generative AI. So you don't always need it. Another advantage of using or unchecking remove after each stroke is it allows you to use a Photoshop feature that you can pretty much use with almost every drawing tool, which is clicking once, holding shift and clicking again, and Photoshop will draw a straight line between those 2 points. So if you have something linear like that pole, it'll be a really, really quick selection instead of you manually trying to select it. And if you have a shaky hand like me, you won't get it right. So that's a very useful feature. Again, you can click on the check mark. In this case, I'll use the keyboard shortcut, enter or return, and it removes it. And it does it
That's
so
beautiful.
fast.
Yeah.
So fast.
That looks great. And it's also, I'm sure that it's also easy to, or handy to have techniques like that as far as it, as drawing the shape or drawing that straight line, because not everybody has a stylus, which is what I would use, you know, to be more precise.
Absolutely.
Some people are using a trackpad or a mouse, so it just gives you more options for accuracy when you work, which is awesome.
There's a comment in the chat by Marcy is saying that speed and generative credits, the reason that I didn't bring up generative credits is because that's a little bit up in the air right now and it's changing constantly. So I wouldn't want to say anything that wouldn't be true, say, next week. But basically what that comment means is that whenever you use generative AI, you do use the generative credits. So for example, let me open this up. If you go into your stock.adobe.com account, this is my account right here. You can click on your little picture here, and then you can see how many generative credits you've used. So I've used 200 or so in the last month. So yeah, when you reach the end of your generative credits, you can still use generative AI in your Adobe products. They just are going to work a little slower.
A little slower, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what that comment is referring to, but I'm not exactly sure how much that affects those credits. So that's why I left it off. But thank you for that comment. But anyway, so the other cool feature is the lasso selection. So you can just click and drag and lasso around an object, and when you come back to where you started, if the start and end point are close enough and you release, Photoshop will close the loop and fill in the center.
Nice.
Super, super cool. And again, I can commit the changes and see how that works. Notice that in this case it's good, but it looks a little, it doesn't look great.
Interesting texture there, yeah.
Exactly. So for something larger, you might want to turn generative AI on or auto, completely up to you, and then try again. So I'm going to loop around one more time, make sure that I get the trash can here. Once I come back to where I started, if it's close enough, it'll fill in the gap, and it does a good job. I'll hit enter. Now, since I am using generative AI, you can see that the removal process takes a bit longer. So that is really the difference. Are you okay with the wait and a better result, or without the wait and the result in some cases is just as good?
Yeah.
So completely up to you. Cool. Any questions in the chat?
Yeah, let's take a peek at our chat, because we've got some more folks filing in from earlier. I know I saw Bliss, Christelle, Marcia, Michelle, Christian, Drulius. I love that name. Yosef, welcome in. We also have our very own Wade Acuff in the chat as our mod this morning, so it's great to see you, Wade. But yeah, let us know if you guys have checked out any of these features for yourselves recently. And if not, which one is kind of your pick for first test? That's what I'd like to know, like what you guys are gravitating towards. Also, hello, Patrick. Welcome in.
Yeah, hi, everybody. The one other thing I would say is, just because it's part of the new feature, so I guess I'll just create a new, I'm just gonna undo. That'd probably be the easiest thing. You know what, I'm pressing undo so many times, you don't have to do that. Like, you can just go into window, and choose history, and the history panel shows you all your adjustments you've made. So instead of pressing undo a whole bunch of times, just go back to wherever it is that you want it to go to. So in this case, before, you see how it says remove tool here? That's when I removed that trash can. You can see the overlay here that's covering the trash can on the layers panel on the thumbnail. But if I just go back one, it's gone, and that's all I need to do. By the way, this is not a new feature. This has been around in Photoshop forever, but you have a little camera icon here. So, for example, this is what the image looks like when it's done. So I can click on this little camera icon to create a snapshot. So now I have a snapshot that is going to show what the image looks like at this point. But maybe I want to compare it to everything being gone except for the trash can, so I can create another snapshot. So I have 2 snapshots. So what that allows me to do is compare. So I can go into Window, History, and I'm just going to pull this guy out so that we can see the trash can, so we can compare our snapshots. See that? So it's a way of comparing. By the way, when you close and save this file, you'll lose your snapshots. They will not stay there. But it's a way of just almost like working at different iterations of your image, and then possibly going back to it. And notice that the history changes accordingly as well. So snapshots are just one of those other cool, useful features.
And now, if I could ask a question about that, I mean, what a great way to show a client different iterations. If you need to, can you actually export that, or is it just for your?
What I would recommend, so good question. So you wouldn't be able to export that, but if you wanted to do that, what I would recommend instead is use layer comps, because you can save layer comps, and layer comps are just a way of, since I'm talking about them, I'll briefly explain what they are. I'm just going to create one more layer just so we can have something else, and I'm just going to create this green box, right? So this is our design for our client. So to answer your question, if you go into Windows and choose Layer Comps, you have a way of saving a couple different things, and I'll show you what that means. So we'll just call this Design 1. Layer Comp 1, we'll call it Design 1. You can save the visibility of your layers, the position of your layers, the layer style of your layers. So, for example, let's just work with visibility. So I'll press OK. And this layer comp 1 is showing all the visible layers, right? But maybe we want to show the client one without the green box. So we can create another layer comp, save visibility, layer comp 2, and then you can leave a comment, no green box or whatever you want. Press OK. So now we can come back and show our client the different versions, because this will save. So, hey client, do you want the green box, or do you like the one without the green box? Obviously, we only disabled one layer, but you can, disable hundreds of layers. And positions and all that. So for example, maybe the green box is here. We'll create one where we move the box over here, create a new layer comp, and this one is also visibility and position. So then now we can, oops, did I not do it correctly? Yep, I didn't do it correctly. I needed to save, the reason it didn't work is because I didn't save position on this one. I only saved the visibility. So then maybe I can come back here, and I'll create a new one. Position is there. So this one should work now. See that? How I'm saving visibility and position?
Because it's saving the same element, and you need to tell it, I want you to make sure that you put these in the right places. And that would be great, because I've got files myself that have like 700 layers in them, because I'm, doing so many different things, and this would be an excellent way to be able to show iterations, even just for myself. So I know, what it's comprised of. Love it. Thank you so much.
And
I'm actually going to use that now.
You know what, since we're talking about it now, I'm going to do a layer comp example in the following stream, which is at noon Pacific. It's an advanced Photoshop class, so I have a great demo for layer comp. So I'm teasing it now. I'm committing to it. We're going to be here back at noon, advanced Photoshop techniques. Us again, together.
Gonna be hanging out. We're gonna be hanging out all day, basically.
All day, and I see Jose de Leon in the chat from Puerto Rico. Jose has been a supporter of my work for years. I always see him commenting on the chat, so thank you so much for joining, Jose.
Welcome in, Jose. And I see Roland and Felicia. Welcome in. Hi, Felicia.
Okay, so the other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is with the remove tool. I showed you how to remove this trash can earlier, but another thing that you might have noticed is when you make a selection around it, since the trash can is red and the overlay is basically the same color, it might be difficult to see. Everybody, the engineers at Adobe are so smart. They figured out that sometimes selections are difficult to see, so they gave us options on the different colors for the overlay. So maybe we can make it a seafoam color and we can increase the opacity and then we
Yeah.
could see it better. But, you know, I'm just going to leave mine set at default, that opacity at 25% in magenta. And there we go. But I just wanted to show you guys that you do have that option in case you cannot see the image. And something else I should mention is some people like, there's nothing necessarily wrong with this, but oh, by the way, I just used the oopsie daisy key that I made a selection I wasn't happy with. Escape, it gets rid of it.
Nice.
Some people are in the camp of making like really big selections, you know, and then using the remove tool this way. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. If it works, it works. If you're happy with it, then great. You know, this looks fantastic. But I feel like you lose a lot of the original pixels, and I'm in the camp that believes in keeping as much of the original pixels as possible. So what I like to do instead is I like to make my selections, you know, they're not super precise, but, you know, I get just a little more than what I need.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, that gets better results, especially if you're working in an environment where details are very important. For example, in a lot of movie posters, I might be taking I may be working with a set, and I may be trying to remove a microphone or something, or you know, whatever piece that shouldn't be there, and I use that image as a background. Well, the set is very recognizable, and whatever is generated on top of it may be different. So I need to keep as much of the original content as possible. So this is why, in my opinion at least, I keep my selections tight, loose, but not as loose as I've seen other people do. But again, if it works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have some questions
Yeah.
coming in from Yosef talking about exporting other supported formats such as JPEG or PNG. I think just meaning like saving your final file out and stuff. And I think there's a lot of, I mean, you can actually export things. You can also do like a regular, I just do like a save as unless I'm doing like a batch export.
Yep.
So do you have any tips maybe for saving final files?
Well, saving final files, exporting, it well, depends, right? Like on what I'm doing. So I'll get this right off the bat. I'm a big fan of the old school save for the web, or save, I forget what they call it these days. I don't even know. I always use the keyboard shortcut. Now, it's under export, yeah. Save for the web legacy.
Yes.
So that's super old school. I love it. I think it works great. The one thing I will say about it is, in my opinion, if you are making animated GIFs, there's no better tool for this.
Oh my gosh, because I've done the animation in Photoshop so many times, and this is exactly how I do it, because you can check out the colors, you can set, it's perfect.
And I've seen so many people like on YouTube saying that this is like a really bad way of saving GIFs, and the answer is yes, if you don't know what you're doing. But if you do know what you're doing, it's incredibly powerful. It's got so many options.
Absolutely.
Some people in the chat may know Adobe Max speaker Chris Converse. He makes animated GIFs for email campaigns professionally, and this is the tool that he's been using for 20 years. And you know, and he's actually shown me a lot of tricks on how to use this to export GIFs. So if you are exporting a GIF, I highly recommend that you spend your time learning how this tool works, because you can get some pretty small GIFs from adjusting the different settings here. Obviously, I don't have an animation here, so I can't really go into the details, but I would recommend that. Having said that, even though this is the tool that I generally prefer to save my files, the one advantage of going to, I should have shown it actually. So if you go into File, Export, Save for the Web Legacy, when I click on Save, at least on Windows, I don't like this dialog box. It's really annoying. So let me show you the difference between doing that and going to File, Export, and using the new Export As window. When you click on Export, it gives me this box, and it's much easier to navigate because I have all my
all your stuff.
And so if I'm thinking ahead that I'm going to need to search for folders, I probably will use Export As. Another advantage is that you can export, like, you know, batch exporting and use other things. But the point is that generally speaking, if I'm just saving a JPEG, just out of muscle memory, I'll go into Save for the Web. If I'm really thinking about it, I'll think, do I need to search for the folders? I'll go into File, Export As. If I'm doing like batch Exporting, probably export as, you know, it just depends. And if,
Yeah.
oh, for example, like if I just wanted to save this green box and nothing else, I can just right click and do a quick export as PNG,
Yep.
and it'll export just that green box. So it just depends on what I'm doing, and I don't need you right now, Norton.
He pokes
but
his head in every once in a while just
yeah.
to check.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like Jose is talking about usually working with restoring photos.
Yeah.
So I assume like it also depends on not only like what you want your end product to be, but also, you know, the project that you're actually working on. I think it's one of those things where Photoshop has a lot of different ways that you can do stuff, and I wouldn't say that any way that is possible to do it is wrong.
Right.
It's just what ends up being right for you, you know.
So the answer to your question, Jose, is wait, did I misread the question?
Let's see.
I
Photoshop
usually
that permits
work-
me to copy a pattern or person's clothing and reproduce it to cover up
Yeah.
some damage in a photo.
Okay. Basically, what I read the question right. What I thought the question said is any new feature. So the answer is there's one new feature that may help. It's not perfect by any means, but I guess I'll show you how it works, and then you can try it and see if it works for you. So there is a new feature that kind of lets you do that. So let me just make, I'm gonna use the selection brush tool, which is a new tool that is now nested on top of the layers, or the tool stack. It used to be the Lasso was the tool on top, now is the selection brush tool. By the way, so the L key gets you to the Lasso tool, or I'm sorry, the selection brush tool. But if for whatever reason you need to go to the Lasso tool, pressing L multiple times doesn't work. So you have to hold Shift and L, and then you go to the next
And cycle
tools.
through it. Okay.
And cycle through it, right?
Nice.
Now, if you just don't want to hold Shift for whatever reason, you can press Control K on Windows, Command K on the Mac, and under Tools, I believe, you can uncheck Use Shift key for tool switch, and then you can just use the L key.
Like just press that
but
one
I
over and over.
like holding Shift because again, I'm old school, and that's the way it used to be, and that's the way my brain works. But you can change that if you want to. Anyway. So what I'm going to do now is with the selection brush, I'm just going to make a very quick, is that working? Why is it not working? Oh, opacity is at 1%, so we need to
Hey yo,
paste
yeah.
that. Yep. So I'm just going to go and just make a selection around this lady's body like so. And it's not perfect, but it's also, you know, pretty good. And I'm probably going to go and need to fix a couple areas. So then I closed the loop and it filled it in.
Nice.
And here we go.
What a time saver that, you know, you might not think anything of that, filling it in for you once you close that loop, but over time, that's going to save you, you know, a lot of time if you're using the tool often.
Absolutely. So we have the selection here, and now this is obviously not, I'm not trying to like match the pattern, but I think you should try this technique to see if it helps you when you do a generative fill to fix the imperfections with your photo restorations, Jose. So you can click on this icon right here, which is the brand new reference image icon. You can go into choose image, and I have this polka dot dress right there.
Okay.
So then I can just click on, well, you can just click generate and see what it does, but you might want to give Photoshop like context. How do you spell polka? P-O-L-K?
P-O-L-K.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Dot dress. Yeah, that's the one downside about generative AI. They have to learn how to spell things. I became a
you
designer
can't.
not to spell things.
You have to spell stuff now.
And then click on generate. So now Photoshop has a reference of what to generate besides the prompt. So maybe this is something that could help you, Jose, with the pattern, but there's nothing specific that's going to get you 100% the pattern. So I just want to throw that out there that it may help, but it's not perfect. See, like in this case,
That's pretty darn good.
you know, considering the you know, prompt I gave her. So we'll say that this is the best you know, the best result. You might notice that her body shifted a little bit. It's not really quite working. What I would recommend in this case is just converting this into a smart object, and now I can treat it just as a regular layer, right? This is just a layer now. So I can go into something like filter, and actually, so it's bigger. I'm gonna double click on here. Filter, liquify, and then you can just increase or decrease the opacity on that, or you know, choose maybe like the background as a backdrop, and then you can now use the forward warp tool, which is right up here. Use the bracket keys to increase brush size, as we talked about earlier, and then just kind of match her body. You see that? So I'm just, you know, the contours of her body will remain basically the same. Maybe it's not 100% perfect, but you get the idea. And
Pretty
the more
close,
time,
yeah.
the more time that you spend doing this, the better the result will be, right? So you can just fine tune this as much as you like. So we'll call that good for now. And then you can just maybe disable the backdrop to see it if everything's looking okay. It's not 100% perfect, but that's okay. Now I can just simply press OK, and now it's matching her body better. And what I can do is create a layer mask, Alt on Windows, Option on the Mac, and click. It hides everything. That creates an inverted layer mask. If the mask is black, it hides everything. So I can now select the brush tool. You can press the B key on the keyboard if you like. Resize the brush. White is my foreground color. By the way, if for whatever reason, your foreground color is like a gray or something, because we're on a mask, it won't be a color, you can press the D key on the keyboard for the default foreground and background colors, which in this case is white and black. And then you can tap on the X key to swap those. So those are the keyboard shortcuts that I use all the time when I'm working with masks. In this case, I want white to be my foreground color, so I tapped on the X key because it was my background color. And now I can just paint that in, make sure my opacity and my flow are high, and then just paint the dress in the areas that I want. So I know this is not necessarily like matching the pattern of something, but maybe you can try it and see if that works. If maybe she was really wearing a polka dot dress, you can save a reference image and then tell Photoshop to use it in the generation and see if that works. But now I'm just filling in these areas, and obviously I'm not being super precise here because we are on a stream and I have so many more things to show you, so I don't want to spend all the time just working on these little tiny baby details that won't make a difference for the example. But anyway, I'm just gonna make my brush bigger and just go faster, just so that you can see how this would work. So
Nice.
this right here gave us a pretty convincing dress that we can of course keep working on later with more shadows, highlights, and if there's any imperfections, like for example, I'm not liking the area here, I could just simply come in and then just do another generation. Just click on Generator Fill and see if I can get a better result just on that shoulder.
Yeah. I love it. Also, we had a question from Jeff in the Behance chat who was asking if we were going to be able to, if there was going to be any animation or anything like that in Express for today, because he had some questions about that, but wasn't sure if it was appropriate for this stream. There will be. I'm doing a segment on animation in Express coming up later in the day. So if you have any questions about GIFs or animation or video export and stuff in Express, I can help you with that a little bit later.
Awesome. There you go. Animation in Express.
Hey. This
Anyway.
looks good, by the way. Like,
Yeah.
I'm excited. This is something I'm going to have to test out.
And there you go. So yeah, Jose, I hope this can help. But this is the thing, like if you really think about it, this is the worst this technology will ever be. A year from now, it's going to be better. 2 years from now, even better. So I'm sure that there's going to be a way to do exactly what you just described, Jose, just not today.
Yeah.
Maybe by Photoshop 2026.
Pretty soon.
Yeah.
Marsha's asking, is there a schedule for the rest of the day available? Yes, indeed.
There is a schedule.
Yes,
It's right
we do
on
have a
screen.
schedule here. So we are doing Photoshop 2025 features and techniques you need to know with Jesus and me. We are going to have New Year, New Podcast with Justin Nguyen and Jesus coming up right after us. So you're sticking around, Jesus.
I'm sticking around. Awesome.
And then New Year, New Look for Drawing a Blank. We are going to be doing the revamping or exploring the revamping of the Drawing a Blank with Cody Bear and Val graphics with me and Justin at 11, followed by Advanced Photoshop 2025 Techniques, which you said you were going to be doing some of the
Layer comping. Yeah,
yes.
we're gonna
So
do
please
something
stick
fun.
around. I'm pretty pumped. It's a pretty jam-packed day today.
It is.
Yeah. So what else are we going over today?
I'm looking at the time, and there's a lot of cool new features that I just want to get to the cool ones. I mean, everything's great, but there's some things that I feel are maybe a little more impressive than others.
Yeah.
So this one's a really cool feature. If you guys know of an artist, Magdiel
Lopez? Yeah.
He actually taught me this technique. So shout outs to Magdiel because he's an amazing artist. And we're hanging out at Adobe Max, and every so often somebody shows me something and I'm like, I cannot believe I didn't know how to do that. And this is one of those things. So shout outs to Magdiel. But anyway, so there's a really cool new feature in Photoshop you guys might have seen, by the way. I think it might still be in the Photoshop beta. I don't think it's fully out in the general release, but in the Photoshop beta. So you can go into your, by the way, if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you go into your Creative Cloud account, oh, look, it looks like there's a new update that just came up, I guess, today.
Nice.
But anyway, so if you go in your Photoshop account, you can see your apps, and then you can click on beta, and then you should have access to the Photoshop beta and maybe several other tools. But anyway, so in the Photoshop beta 2025, you can go into edit and choose Generative Workspace, right? And this is almost like the generate image window to a degree, which is right down here, that one where you can put a prompt and apply all these different styles and settings and all that. It's basically the same in terms of what it does, but with many, many more features that I really, really enjoy. Some of those features include generating multiple things at once. So I can generate, for example, the reindeer and the rock at the same time. I don't have to generate the deer, then the rock. I could do them all or more, right? So I generated this earlier this morning, like right before we started the stream. And I'm just going to copy the same prompt just so that you can see how this works. Old broken rock with large cracks, moss, vines, plants, and leaves, 3D material, light gray isolated, background, and then I delete all that because that's not needed, with light gray isolated background, right? And it's going to generate something that looks like that. I'll click on generate, and it'll generate that. Because what I want to do is I want to create assets to convert the man yelling in the background here into basically that.
Okay.
So how do we do that? Well, we can now come into any one of these, whichever one we like best. I'm kind of liking this one. Click on the 3-dot icon and choose reference style. Okay. So then that applies it down here. See how it's right there? And you see it here on the bottom left? I can now click on, because
we might have to bump ourselves over if we can, Ooh, this way.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Yep, there it is. It's right down here. That's where it is.
Okay.
I can also click on that, and then you'll see it here, style reference. I can also match the outline and depth of the image.
Okay.
So then I can click on upload image, and I'm just going to upload the same photo of this man.
Okay.
There he is. And what I'm going to do now is just delete the prompt and change the aspect ratio to landscape, because my photo of the man is landscape. And I can click on generate. So now I should, in theory, get a man that is very similar looking to the one yelling and the rock that we generated just a moment ago.
Nice.
So we'll just give it just a few moments.
Looks like everyone's pretty excited in the chat.
And there you go. Actually, it's not as intense as I wanted it to be. So we can try it one more time. And this is crazy because it worked perfectly when I was trying it out at 9:40 in the.
Sometimes that's that's just how it goes. Is that you never really quite know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
But
so we'll give it one more go. And if not, I'm gonna look at my settings just in case there's something that I didn't quite get.
We've also got a link from Wade in the chat to the Photoshop beta.
There we
so
go.
definitely check out that link, folks, if you're interested in experimenting with the beta.
What I'm going to do is increase the strength, and maybe that'll work, and maybe reduce the strength here a little bit to 50, and then we'll click on generate. But you can sort of see already that I'm generating something that kind of looks like my background image. And it's starting to get some of that green moss in there. So I'm just going to adjust the settings, and hopefully I get something that works properly. And that's another thing that's the downside of generative AI, that you don't always know what you're going to get. So you have to keep generating until you get something that works.
I kind of find, though, that anytime I've experimented, because typically what I use the generative features for myself is concepting and experimenting, quickly throwing together different concepts before I then go in with my own process and kind of work through it.
Right.
And I find that sometimes I end up with new ideas.
Sure.
Which is really cool. And I love this, by the way.
Yeah, we're going to try one more time, and I'm just going to increase the strength of both. Cross my fingers and hope it works, because it's kind of working, but it's really, you see how it's getting the moss on his hair. Usually what it does is
he's made of rock.
He's made of rock.
Okay. Okay.
So come on, don't let me. And this is what happens on live streams, right? it
I'm doing
just
the
it just
dance.
doesn't work. Oh, you're doing
I'm
the dance to the Adobe gods.
Yeah, I'm trying to summon
Come on.
what we're looking for.
Oh God, no. Anyway, so and the funny thing is, I have a video on this on my YouTube channel where I created a zombie, and I just basically use this exact technique. I'm gonna give it one last go and just make sure that I have everything I need. So match the outline. That's there. Yeah, everything should be working. I'm just gonna do something completely different just to see if it works in this case. Just set my settings to 25 and the strength to 90, and then I will press OK. And my last resort will be to actually put in a prompt, but you shouldn't have to put in a prompt. I've done this without putting in the prompt.
That was going to be my next question: is could you accompany it with a description?
Yeah.
And that's what Katerina is also asking in chat. And yeah, Lisa Carlson is also asking after like the reference, like a switch between the two.
Yeah, so good question. So the style would just be like the rock, right? And then the composition is the outline of like the person. So what I'll do now is I'll use basically the old broken rock with large. Yeah, I'll just leave that in because it wouldn't be a 3D material. It'll just be that all broken, and I'll use the word statue.
Yeah.
With statue rock. Okay, cool. We'll see if it works. Yeah, so this should have worked without a prompt, but it is what it is. And we also just had a new update of Photoshop, so maybe something changed with the way these things work. There we go. So in this case,
Oh, amazing.
Well, there we go. So in this case, adding a prompt made a huge difference, right? So this is exactly what I wanted. I wanted something like this to influence my generation. So now that I have generated what I wanted, I can go into the image that I'm working in. It's called man2.jpg as separate layers. Click on add, and it will add it into Photoshop. What that allows me to do now is composite this into that. So I'm creating an asset for my composition that doesn't have to, that I don't have to do too much distorting and matching because it's already distorted and matched for me. So, and it's adding it and it's being super slow right now. There we go. There you go. See how it is just basically a perfect match?
Oh, yeah.
See that? So then what I can do now is just decide which parts of this image are going to work for me. You know, like...
Oh, I love this. What? I'm just sorry. The possibilities are coming to me now, and I'm like, oh my goodness.
So maybe, you know, like obviously I'm going to just be super rough here and fast because we only have like 10 minutes and there's more I want to show. But maybe, you know, we'll say that I like this part of this image, right? Great, love it. And then I can go back into Generative Workspace, and now maybe for funsies, I'll switch up the maybe reduce the strength a little bit, and maybe, I don't know, do another generation just so we can get different results. And I think you get the idea that now I can start layering different things, right?
Yeah. Jose says maybe you can put Medusa in front of him staring at him. That's such a good idea. That's a perfect idea.
So I actually like this one a lot. This is really good. So again, add it to that working document as a separate layer. Click on add. Hopefully it doesn't take as long, but I think you can see the power in this because now I have these cool looking vines. See that? So like now I can start combining things like what will be the coolest, right? So in this case, again, just for the sake of time, I'm just going to say that everything here is what I want, you know. So I combined these two images together, you know, to make my final result, right? So like,
not bad, man. Not bad.
And you can spend a lot of time, and then once you have your composition, you can of course start using adjustment layers. One of the quickest ways of getting a look is by using a color lookup adjustment layer and just select, you know, one that looks good to your eye. So, you know, maybe something like that. And then you can make your adjustments. The point is that you have so many ways of creating new assets now in Photoshop.
This looks like the loading screen of like a Last of Us video game or something.
Yes.
Like I'm waiting for the like start, continue, new game, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and what I would do here, I mean, now I'm getting like super like technical about it, which I shouldn't, but like, you know, maybe I actually do want to see like his like real eyes.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe his real mouth would probably be better, you know? And then what I would do at this point is
I like that.
what I would do is just actually work with this layer, right? So that this layer is probably too saturated, so bring down the saturation on it, and maybe bring up the contrast on it, so it matches the image better. What I'm working with, and then maybe I don't know, like I guess I could do another hue and saturation, do like a colorize, and then maybe like desaturate it more, and then I don't know. I think we can spend all day here trying to make this look better, but I think you get the idea. This is what I would highly recommend. Notice that in this case, I did have to use a prompt. Sometimes I've done it without the prompt, but this is what it's all about. Play around until you get it right.
Yeah, and we have, just as a reminder, we have about like 5 or 6 minutes left before we switch to you in the hosting seat.
Yes, I'm going to be sitting where you are.
We're going to trade spots, and then we're going to welcome Justin to hang out with us for a little while. So what can we work on in the last 5 minutes?
Yeah, this is definitely going to take more than 5 minutes, but that's all I have, so that's all I will do. So what I just opened up in Photoshop is an OBJ file, which is a 3D file. And it's opening it up, and I got this from Adobe Stock. You can get free assets from Adobe Stock, including this car. And basically what Photoshop Beta now allows you to do is double click on an OBJ car, an OBJ file, and this should open up Adobe Substance Viewer, which then takes that file and that 3D object, and you can now place it, into position to create a composite that's more realistic, like so. And then we have a lot of different options here with lighting, so I can select the lighting of one of the presets that they have. This preset works great, or you can click on this icon here. You see how that's not really working? Now it is. You can open up that same file. So I think I saved all the files here on my desktop. So Adobe Live, Substance Preview Viewer, and then I can't see my JPEG, so you have to click on this drop down and choose all files, and there's the JPEG. So now Photoshop is using that image as a light. You can increase the light, and then maybe we can get some of the buildings or something in the background that are similar to where the car should be, and then just keep playing with this. We can enable the ground plane to get some shadows and different things. So I'm going to click on ray tracing so that we can see what that would look like, and you can see the reflection here. It actually matches the ground.
Amazing.
So that is one of the advantages of using this technique. So maybe something like this works. Then you can click on to Photoshop. So now this image will appear back inside of Photoshop. So it's a great way of compositing 3D objects into your images using Adobe Substance 3D Viewer. So Photoshop used to be able to open and manipulate 3D objects. It lost that capability about 3-4 years ago, and now it's back with the Adobe Substance 3D Viewer.
I love this. I love this so much. And I had used those tools previously, but this is, the possibilities are kind of endless with this. I'm loving it.
Yeah, and especially because you can just use the image that's in the background to influence the 3D object, which makes compositing so much easier. And it should be sent to Photoshop. So now that it's in Photoshop, it will open up here, and there it is. And look, it's just a regular layer, right? So now I can continue manipulating this any way that I want. And for example, you can imagine just having like like text or something. Maybe this is a campaign, car, whatever, oops. And look see how the glass is transparent?
Yeah.
See that?
Oh dear, that's amazing. Because that was going to be one of my next questions, is like how fully, how visible is the visibility on this stuff? Like, is it actually, because it's a 3D model, I would imagine those pieces are transparent and all that kind of stuff, but I wasn't sure when you send it to Photoshop. That is amazing.
Yeah, so super, super cool. And, we could do a whole Adobe Live just on that tool, but I wanted to show it to you since it's one of the new features in Photoshop 2025. If you want to learn more about Photoshop 2025, I'll be back again at noon Pacific talking more about advanced features in Photoshop 2025.
Yeah, and please join us because we've got not only that, maybe we could take a peek at our schedule because not only do we have Justin and Jesus coming up next, I will be back hanging out with Justin for a new look at the revamp of Drawing a Blank, as well as animating and creating new assets for live streaming with Adobe Express. We'll be diving back into advanced Photoshop techniques with Jesus right after that, and I'm excited. This is a a pretty good lineup.
It's gonna be fun. And also don't forget to sign up for the new, I'll show you guys the page really quick. Go into the Adobe blog, make sure you sign up for the new Photoshop beta to sign up to test the live co-editing feature. So the link will be in the chat. I'm sure Wade or somebody will post it in just a moment. Make sure you check it out.
Indeed, indeed. And I've had a blast with you. I always have a blast
Ditto.
with you. Yeah,
I do as well.
But it was really good to see you. I hope that you all will stay tuned because we are not going anywhere. We're going to be live all day with some design goodness. You'll see more of us, and you will also see our friend Justin as he kind of comes in for his shows.
Yeah, I'm going to be there in just a second.
Yes. So please give Jesus a follow online. Check out the YouTube channel. Check out his work on Behance and every place else that he is available. And we'll see you guys again in a few minutes. Yeah.
Bye. This class is all about the adjustment brush. We're gonna open up this portrait. I wanna show you guys the 3-dot icon here, which is the edit toolbar panel. The adjustment brush is right here. Also, one of the other new features is the selection brush. So those are the 2 new brushes inside of Photoshop. The big deal is that you can create an adjustment simply by painting over an image. It's just a little dark under his eyes there, so maybe I can fix that by going into the adjustment brush tool. So you'll notice that from the adjustment dropdown, we have all the adjustments here. So I can just simply choose curves, and I'm just going to paint over that area like so. I can now come in and make further adjustments. Notice how when you adjust the curves adjustment layer, you inadvertently add saturation to the image. You can just click on the drop-down menu here and choose luminosity. So look at the difference between luminosity and normal. See how it gets darker without increasing the saturation. So for me, one of the best tools is the spot healing brush tool. I recommend that you create a brand new layer and click on sample all layers. For example, if I wanted to minimize the wrinkle here, what I like to do is use the modes. These are basically blending modes. If this blemish, distraction, wrinkle, whatever it is that you're trying to remove or minimize, is it darker than the skin tone or lighter than the skin tone?
Okay.
So in this case is darker, right? So you want to lighten it. And then when we paint, we didn't destroy any of the texture. What I can do now is press Control-Shift-F, brings us into the fade command. Now this is very, very important. You will not have access to the fade command if you do anything else in Photoshop after applying that spot healing removal. So it needs to be done immediately after you make that adjustment. It's got an opacity slider, so notice how I can just reduce the opacity. See that? So now I still have my skin texture. I still have the highlights intact. It's still there. You can still tell that it's him, but it's not as intense and not as distracting. And there you go, before and after. So I was just in Rome a week ago. You know, there's a lot of tourists in Rome, so you can use GenFill to remove tourists from a photo. This is the old workflow, right? Lasso tool, make a selection, click on Generative Fill, and generate. The new workflow is the selection brush tool. I'll use the bracket keys to adjust my brush size, and I can very quickly come in here, and I can just click on Generative Fill, leave the prompt blank, and generate. And there you go. Fantastic results. Look at that. Then you can just, keep doing that over and over again. Notice that I didn't really have to switch tools or anything. I can just come in here. Usually what I do, by the way, is I put everything into a smart object to work non-destructively. For those of you that don't know, a smart object is a container that can hold one or more layers where you can apply non-destructive adjustments, distortions, filters, and transformations. What does that mean? It just means you can keep changing it, and it's cool. You can always go back. What I like doing is going into Camera Raw Filter, the geometry tool. This one here, I usually just click on auto and see if it fixes the perspective, and it does. See that? It just makes it seem so much flatter, right? Isn't that cool?
Well, Jesus, this has been amazing. You have shown us tip after tip and walked us through all of the latest and greatest in Photoshop. So thank you so much for being here and for everything that you've shown us.
Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah. Hey everybody, welcome back to another Adobe Live. I am your host, Jesus Ramirez, and with me, Justin Nguyen. Hey Justin, how's it going?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. I was sitting where you were just a moment ago, and now I get to relax and learn from you. It's a new year, new podcast. So tell me about that.
Yeah. So we're starting a new podcast. It's going to be called How Creators Make Money.
Ooh.
So we looked out at the podcast world. There's a lot of content creator podcasts out there, but a lot of it deals with how to make better editing or how to edit for retention.
The technical part.
The technical side, right?
Sure.
Or they're interviewing really big YouTubers, right? And so from our perspective, again, we have a solid following, but we're not the Mr. Beasts of the world.
Sure.
And I think it's easier, or not easier, but it's more realistic for the average person to become someone like myself and learn the business of even someone like yourself too, of creating courses and things of that nature, right? So our job with this podcast is to talk about the businesses behind some of these creators, whether it's from a content standpoint, whether it's from a course selling standpoint, whatever traffic that they're driving to, we want to uncover how they're making money.
Nice. I think that's a really important skill for designers to learn. One of the by no means I'm recommending this book. When I was in college, I read a book. I was in college. I started college in 2000. This is a long time ago. So this is definitely not our current book, but I read a book called Talent Isn't Everything. And it was about how designers needed to be better business people than actual designers.
Yeah.
Because if you have the business skill, not to say that design is not important, but if, in terms of making money, that is a skill you need to have. So it's wonderful that you're creating a podcast on that.
Yeah, I mean, look, being the starving artist is a sort of accolade that some people love to show off, so to say. But that doesn't pay the bills.
Right.
And at the end of the day, we need to pay the bills
Absolutely
somehow.
right.
And I think there's a lot of content creators that are popping off or that have popped off, especially since COVID. And they've seen this rise through a bunch of views on these new platforms, especially with short form content.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that, as we both know, in the content world, doesn't necessarily last the longest, right? So
Yeah.
if you can figure out that business side on the back end, that makes your life stable, and you can do a whole lot of stuff with that.
I agree completely. So what are we going to learn today?
So we're going to be jumping into Adobe Express.
Cool.
And so we're going to go through my lovely co-host, Grace. She's already actually created some assets for me to use, and she's created her own version of the podcast cover art. I'm going to create we're going to work through creating our own version, essentially, as well as with her assets. And then we're going to go through and see what templates we can kind of utilize from the Express standpoint.
Amazing.
And tweak some things around because Adobe has some amazing templates there.
Sounds good. By the way, chat, thank you so much for joining us. Feel free to leave any comments or questions. I will gladly ask Justin if he doesn't see those. Bruce is saying, got to pay those bills. Absolutely right. Frank,
sure.
Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, so let's get started. Oh, by the way, there's a link in the chat to Adobe Express. In case you're not familiar with it, this is the tool that Justin's going to be working with today. So the link is in the chat, so you can click on it and check it out.
Yeah, I absolutely love Adobe Express. You can school me probably in Photoshop world. I am not that super technical in the design space, but Adobe Express makes things so easy that it makes it seem like I'm an expert in the space.
And then that's why it's there.
Exactly. And so we're first actually going to jump into what is this called? Spotify. Sorry, blanking right now. And the reason that we're going to do that is because we're going to look up, we're going to do a little sort of research in what is on the content creator podcast space. Creator podcast. And the reason that we want to see this is so we can get an idea of what these shows look like.
Okay.
Right? So we're seeing this, there's some that are just words, there's some that have a personality to it, right? But a lot of these are very personality driven, right? You see a headshot of a person.
Right.
We want to find a way to stand out from here, right? And so that's what our thinking was when I asked Grace to design some of these assets in there. So
Does Grace have a design background, or what's her
Yeah,
background?
so Grace is she does a lot of work with Adobe as well.
Okay, cool.
Her name is Grace Ling. She runs one of the largest, if not the largest, designer Discord communities out
Oh,
there
wow,
called Design
amazing.
Buddies. She's absolutely killing it. She's been able to monetize the community as well, and that's why she's a great co-host, because she's not only a creator, but she's living the how creators make money lifestyle. So, okay, let's just see what templates they've got right now. Oh, wait, podcast cover art. Sorry. Here we are. So here are some of the templates that the lovely creators at Adobe have created. We're going to run through, let's just see and pick one that I kind of like, and I think we can change around a little.
So right now you're looking for something with words, with faces. What are you looking for?
I want something, so if you go back here, right, at what a podcast kind of looks like, we want to find something that has big enough words so that you can immediately see it, right? Your image size isn't that big on a podcast, but you need to think of it as like a thumbnail or a title in a YouTube video,
Absolutely.
right? If those don't hit, no one's ever going to click on it. No one knows who you are. So I'm looking at these, and I think that this is a pretty good one. You've got that. Obviously, these are two females here, but you've got the big wording at the top, as well as two spaces for personalities.
Right.
So we'll save this portion for last, where we'll edit this a little bit. What I'm gonna do next is just start blank. So let's just start same size, add new page, and we're gonna start blank, which is, it can be a little scary for some people. I get that. But I've had, again, Grace design some assets that we can use on here. And so we're just going to drop these all in here really quick.
And are these assets in your Creator Cloud library, or?
Yes, the Creator Cloud library, I've made it into a little brand folder. So it's super easy for me to just pull. So as you can see in the top left, it says how creators make money. Did a little pre-work, did that this morning, so I wouldn't be scrambling on the live, you know. But yeah, that allowed that makes this thing so easy to be able to just pull everything over right there. And as you can see, that's me.
Oh, there we go.
Cartoon version of Justin, and this is cartoon version of Grace as well. And this is her Design Buddies logo-ish.
Amazing.
So here are just a bunch of assets. I'm just gonna throw these. I guess I double-clicked on everything. But I just like to do this when it comes to when I do have some assets to work with, because it allows me to just visualize everything and see where I want to take and drag things.
Yeah, because you're probably sure you want to use most, if not all of these, so you want to just see them on the table, basically.
So as you can see, like some of these assets, logos, symbols, however you want to call them, they're all kind of specific, right? So you've got myself and Grace. So usually I'm in a hat. That's kind of been my brand.
Okay.
Today I had just gotten a haircut like a few days ago, so I was like,
I'll show it off.
Gotta show it off, right?
Yeah.
So
it's that third day when it looks the best, you know, like it's today or nothing.
Exactly. So this is Grace's drawing of myself, right? So that's where the hat comes from.
Okay, cool.
Grace here, you can see the little bunny hair clip from a branding standpoint. A mic for the podcast, obviously. Light bulb, brain blast, if you're a Jimmy Neutron fan.
Yeah.
The likes for social media. Again, another Design Buddies. Money, because how creators make money. Some cool little pizzazzy things.
That looks like the Generative AI logo.
I love that. A little. What is that called for paint?
A palette.
Is that palette?
Yeah,
okay.
it's a palette, right? Let us know in the chat. Is that a palette? Yeah. Oh my God. I went to art school and I don't know what that's called.
It's okay. We're going through this. And then we have the little up and to the right arrow. That's probably for like views, subscribers, growth. Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. And then music, right? Because we want to encapsulate everything when it comes to being a content creator. And so let's just play around with this. Let's see. So this is, I'm probably pretty sure that Grace has to be in this corner just because of how she's cropped, which is okay. And then I'm going to be on this side a little bit.
Yeah, people in the chat are saying, yep, palette. All right,
Palette.
cool.
Okay, there we go.
Oh, and there's Sean. Hey, Sean, how's it going? Robert, Jeff.
Oh, Grace is actually here.
Oh, great. Oh, Grace is on the other. Okay, I see her. Hey, Grace.
Shout out Grace.
Yeah.
Shout out Dave. Michelle, my fiance, is out here.
Oh, awesome.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. So here, I'm going to just put myself on the edge over here. And let's see.
Wade said palette if you're fancy. What about if you're not fancy? That's what I want to know.
I don't think I'm fancy enough to use the word palette. Let's make Grace a little bigger here. And I'm going to do something fun. So here's the mic. Let me rotate this slightly.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So how do you and Grace know each other?
We met 4-ish years ago, like during COVID. And out of all platforms, it was because of LinkedIn, which is funny. A lot of people, right, when you think of content creation, you immediately go to Instagram, you go to TikTok, YouTube, whatever it may be. LinkedIn was the platform Grace and I were grinding back in the day. So I was a college student at the time, and I was creating content to try to find jobs and internships.
Right.
Because I was coming from a non-target school, and so I was, trying to get a job in finance at the time. So I needed to find a way to stand out. And so creating content on LinkedIn allowed me to broaden my network, which then led to jobs and internships.
Oh, wow.
Figured out the game when it came to finding jobs and internships. And then Grace was creating a lot of college content as well, but also when she moved into her career, her job was initially graphic design at EA. And so she's creating a lot of design content that what stemmed into the Design Buddies community. And then we just would always, like every once in a while, talk to each other. And then I posted on my Instagram story like, hey, I've got this great domain, which I'm not sure if you're this type of person, but I buy domains a lot.
I used to. I kind of stopped.
Which is not a good thing because it's starting to add up on the credit card bill, I'm not going to lie. But I bought howcreatorsmakemoney.com.
Oh, okay.
And I've just been sitting on it for years. And I was like, all right, I think it's time to start a podcast.
To do something with it,
New year, right? New things. And Grace was one of the people to swipe up and say, hey, I'm really interested in this space as well. She's been doing a lot of LinkedIn Lives with content creators too. And so it kind of worked out. And she's amazing. And so we're going to record our first episodes actually later today.
Oh, awesome.
And so it should be a good time.
Can't wait.
So here we go. I just did... basically what I did with the mic is it had the little, as you can see, it has like the little mic stand thing. I'm just going to get rid of that just because I think it takes away a little bit from the actual design of things. And I just turned it towards Grace so that it looks like she's talking into the mic.
Cool.
And I'm going to see if I can do the same thing, but for my hand as well. Let's see. This looks a little big.
Yusuf is saying, Justin is one of the most influential people in the entire, capital letters, creator economy. I cannot stress enough how lucky Adobe is to have his support and partnership.
Oh, man. Shout out Yusuf. I love Yusuf. He's one of my boys from Orlando.
Okay,
so
cool.
We created like a little content creator community in Orlando, and he is one of the the creators that were a part of it. He also was randomly classmates with my cousin and my brother in college, which we didn't know at the time, but it just happened to get linked up there.
Cool.
Which is cool. So let's see. I'm playing around with the layers a little bit so that the bottom of this mic can get covered. Because I just, again, as you can see, there's this little, let me just zoom in so everyone can see. Where's the hand? See how there's this little end piece.
Sure.
Again, I'm not a expert when it comes to, but I know how to use layers, and this is where Adobe Express comes in clutch. So all I have to do is just move this mic down, and boom,
there you
my
go.
hand covers it.
There we go.
And I look like an all-star designer, and I can just make this there, boom.
Yeah, that's a good testimonial for Adobe Express. It'll make me look like an all-star designer.
It will. Honestly, you watch a few YouTube videos here and there, right? Just type it in, whatever you're trying to figure out, and more than likely, whether it's Adobe or another creator that uses Express,
they will tell you.
Probably has a way to figure it out. So let's see. There we go. So we got the mic pointed towards me, got the mic pointed towards Grace. We need to make some space for this title, right? So I'm just gonna move these things all over the place. And I'm gonna entrust this to you.
Okay.
We're gonna find a font.
Ooh.
Okay? We're gonna find a font.
All right. Oh, so much pressure. Chad, I'm gonna need some help. What's your favorite font?
So here's what I'm thinking. Let me know what you think. Let's go back to these podcasts, right? Everything is kind of in the middle. I like how this is left aligned, the creator CEO one.
Yep.
I kind of like that left aligned feel.
Me too.
Right?
I agree with you.
And I think a key thing about this podcast is, yes, it's about creators, but it's about how and breaking down how these creators are making money. So let me know how you feel about this look.
Okay.
So what I would want, or what I'm thinking, is we make how a little big to put the emphasis on it. And then the bottom piece is where the creators make money. So obviously make this a little smaller. Maybe too small, too big.
So you're gonna go with 2 lines or 3 lines?
I think 2 lines.
2 lines? Okay.
Yeah. So let's just say this is like the base look, right? From a font standpoint, how are we feeling?
I don't know. I do like the thickness of one of the other ones that you were just showing with the 3 lines. That is just, as you mentioned earlier, speaking from a YouTube thumbnail perspective, right? No matter how small that is, you can read it.
Yeah,
you know.
For sure.
So I definitely would go with something. For example, the one directly below it, I can barely read because from where we're sitting, that's pretty far, so it looks about yay big.
Yeah.
And it's more difficult to read, where the one above that is not a problem.
For sure, right? And that's exactly what we want to figure out is, again, if most people listen to their podcasts on a phone, right? So the screen size or the image size is even smaller than that. So let's try and find a thick sort of font here.
Yeah.
Any I'm not one of those people that can just pull a font name.
Yeah.
Are you one of those
No,
people?
I do compositing, man. I'm not oh God, the working with fonts was never my thing. I'm trying to think of anybody in the chat. Please let us know what your favorite thick font is. If not, I'm seeing, what about?
Let's look at the recommended.
Yeah, how about that?
We can play around with these. That's a little too playful.
Yeah, it's basically Comic Sans, and which would be perfect. Ironically,
look at you, you're pulling out font names here.
So, but that's a good point. You said it was too playful. So, do we want to lean in more into the business side and not be as playful, or still keep the fun?
So, I like the fun side, right? As you can see, we're doodling with just the assets that we have on the cover art right now, right? So, I do like the fun side, but we want to keep it a little serious, if that makes sense. We want to have a feel that we still know what we're doing, and it's not just 2 kids that are just talking about the creator economy.
Sure.
We want to show that we know a little bit about ourselves. Let's see. This kind of looks like money.
Yeah, that might be kind of cool.
It might be tough to read, but I kind of like that idea. Let's see. What is this one called? This is called Brim Narrow. How would this look?
I'm gonna answer one of the questions in the chat via comment, since not really related to this, but I'll answer you in just a second. But yeah, I do like the money look. But see, I don't know if you ever do this, but so when I design my YouTube thumbnails, what I like to do is, obviously you're working in a big screen like you are now, I zoom out and kind of make it look small, you know, like, I don't know, yeah.
Interesting.
You know, can you zoom out even further? Or zoom in, or whatever? Yeah.
So that's probably what it looks like.
That is probably what it looked like.
That's too busy.
Yeah. So like that's one of the tricks I do, because then when you're designing at full screen, you see every detail, right? But then when you make it smaller, it might just be a little too busy.
I told you this is why you're the expert. No, that's good. I never even thought about zooming out to kind of have a feel of what it might look like. Let's see. This I had one I'd seen before. Where is it? Let's see.
Yeah, let us know in the chat. Okay, so Dave is recommending circular black, which you can try that.
Circular black.
And Bruce is recommending antique olive bold.
I don't have circular black.
What about antique olive bold?
Antique olive. Okay. Bold.
Not bad.
I like it. I like it. Should we go all caps here? Or is this all caps?
No, yeah.
There we go. So at least it looks.
Well, see, I like this. Good suggestion. Who suggested this one? Was it who in the chat that I just?
The antique.
Yeah.
Bruce.
Bruce.
Shout out
yeah.
Bruce.
Yeah. Shout out. Thank you, Bruce, for that. So I like it for two reasons. Number one is the boldness that we're going for, but it also maintains enough playfulness while still being serious.
Because it's like, I see what you're saying. Like the little W.
Yeah,
little
and
W.
the O is like maybe slightly elongated on the top right, but just enough not to like make it super obvious. So yeah, good suggestion.
Okay, let's see what we can play around here. What if we do here? I'm just gonna move this up for a second. Group these really quick so I can move them around.
Oh, I see. Yeah, Wade, I see. Thank you, Wade, for. So Wade is sending us some links here that you might want to try. Oh, give me 1 second. It logged me out of my Adobe account here. Thanks for that, Wade. So Wade sent in this one called Oscar.
Oscar. Okay.
Yeah. Oskar.
Here, let's see. Let me just duplicate this real quick. Oscar.
Not on there?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah,
oh, okay,
yeah,
cool.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Okay, let's see. Where's... All right, so these are the two that we have right now.
Yep.
Just disregard the one on the left. I'm trying to think. Like, I'm trying to zoom. Can I? Nope. So I'm trying to visualize this, right? Like, if I'm looking at it from a podcast standpoint.
Okay.
Which stands out more to me just from the font standpoint? I feel like the one on the left.
I agree.
Because it's a little bit more bold.
Yeah.
And that O, I think, really stands out.
Yeah.
Because it's not perfectly sort of circular.
Well, and also, like, at least to my eye, that O is more congruent with your design elements around it.
I agree. All right. So the winner, chicken dinner is Bruce. All right. So here we go.
So I don't know if you know the answer to this question. I don't know what the answer is, but is there a preset shortcut for grouping elements, or just create your own? Are you talking about grouping different design elements? Because if so, yes. If so, it's Control G.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's what they're asking. But so if that's not the answer, please clarify. Digifax Design Studio. Let me know if that was what you're asking. Just grouping things together like you would do in Photoshop or Illustrator. Control G in Express as well.
That is some expert advice right there. Creators, let's just make everything caps. All right, cool. All right, so now let's start moving some things around. Let's see, what do I have here? I want this to kind of be one of the highlights because
Oh,
I feel
yeah.
like,
A good idea.
again, as a content creator, as much as we don't want to admit it, that dopamine rush that we get when someone likes it, when
Yeah.
people are viewing our content, there's
Yeah.
very little things in the world that compare to that.
Yep.
As sad as that can kind of be sometimes, it is true.
Well, so I think it serves the purpose you just described, but also I think it kind of like draws your eye to the title of the
I
show.
agree. Cool. All right. So I like that one there.
Mm-hmm.
I want Grace's bunny to be close to Grace. 'Cause it's Grace. Let's see. What are you thinking about this? Like the growth chart, so to say, and
Yeah.
this light bulb. So we could put the light bulb on top of me because that's kind of like brain blast idea type of vibe. But is that too corny?
Maybe it's good. So I'll start with the growth line. I do like that it's pointing at the name of the podcast. So it kind of like, your eye looks at the arrow and immediately goes, wait, creators?
I didn't even think about that.
Maybe put the arrow like, I don't know how to look, but just spitballing here, like arrow pointing at money because people be like, what, money? What?
Let's see.
I don't know. Let's see if it works visually.
Like over here? Or is that too busy with?
I don't know.
Let's see. Here. Where are you? There you go. Here or here?
I think it probably looks better on the left now that I look
with
at
the
it. Yeah.
creators.
Yeah. But still pointing at the title of the show, so that's probably good.
What if? Could you go off the corner? Or is that?
That might be kind of cool. Yeah. I think if you move it for just a little bit more to the left, so you can tell it's a growth chart rather than just an arrow
So
or growth.
You're saying like this?
No, the other way. Yeah, because then it just looks like an arrow there. Yeah.
Okay.
You can kind of see that it's more like a little.
Like that?
Yeah. What do you think?
There you go. I like it.
It also balances you because you're also off on the other edge.
Fair. Do we want to change or actually, let's not change the color of it. Let's keep it black for now.
What are the brand colors for the show, if any?
So we don't have any right
Okay.
now. One thing that Grace and I were talking about is a blue because that's funnily enough both of our favorite colors.
Mine
Again,
too.
There we go.
There you go.
Shout out blue. Also, if you look at this, there's a few blue, but it's like kind of darkish colors for the most part. Like you got black, dark purple. There's like this greenish color, but the two colors that I think we could try to figure out a good blend with is blue or green. And the reason for that, right? Green money, blue for Grace and I.
Okay.
But yeah, that's probably what we'll do last to figure out the like background pop color. So let's see. I feel like, from a design standpoint, should we leave this area between the arrow and my mic blank to like, does that give more effect to the title rather than trying to make it super busy?
Yeah, I think so. If you go back to the examples of the other shows, like for that one right there, what is it called? The Creative Pep Talk. To me, it's too busy. Like from where I'm sitting and how far that screen is from us, like I can't, like it doesn't
That is
look
a lot going on.
So I think the one that you're working at is much more clear, much more to the point. Like I'm talking about YouTube thumbnail from the YouTube thumbnail perspective. People are super busy. So like if they need more than 2 seconds to know what your thumbnail podcast is about, I think you'll lose them because everybody's used to that, 2 second,
If that, right?
Yeah.
Like, no, that's completely fair.
So the more clear it is, I think the better.
I
That's
agree.
just my opinion.
No, I agree. So let's see. We've got a few more elements to move around. So I agree. Let's keep this area clear here. I think we definitely need to keep the money sign here. Probably keep the light bulb and either this or this element.
Yeah.
We probably get rid of one of them.
Yeah.
To leave more space. I think we could do something like this. You look like you want to say something.
Look, Because I'm thinking, I'm just thinking out loud here. So
You're
don't-
good. You're good.
what if you tried designing zoomed out or in or whatever, zoomed out so that we could like better see like how, yeah, like this, if we design
Okay.
like this. Because now part of me kind of wants to move you down a little bit. So make money's like basically front and center. Does that make
So like
sense?
that.
Yeah. And I don't know if it'll work. We could just try
Okay.
it.
Make this money.
Yeah,
like
just
right here?
yeah. No. Like now spread it so it's like completely.
Oh, so make the font
yeah,
bigger.
yeah, yeah. Because then that'll be easier to read, and then if it's centered, that might be like, boom, you know.
Like that.
Yeah. What do you think? Obviously, you might have to like rearrange some of the like little design graphic elements,
yeah,
but
yeah.
but what do you think of it having it just like boom?
Okay.
I don't know. I'm just spitballing here.
I could see that. Trying to think where to put these because I do agree. I think the way that we have things laid out right now,
Mhm.
it's a little busy.
Yeah. I would suggest why don't you try one of two things? Either making it like super bottom heavy so that just the title is like super visible on top, and then just the because
So-
if you think about how like people read, especially in like Western cultures, it's top left.
So,
So-
kind of like this. Obviously, we
Yeah,
can move things
sure,
around on
sure.
the bottom.
And then maybe like I kind of do like the colorful elements on top, like the like icon or like the little heart, and I kind of do like the light bulb on there.
Mm-hmm.
But like it's like super easy to read, and right away it's like boom, I know what this is about because again, in Western cultures we read from left to right and then start at the top.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
So what do you think? I don't know. I'm just
Oh,
again.
I mean, I didn't even think about that, right? Just from the way that, from a Western standpoint, how we read.
Yeah.
I think that this way it draws a lot of attention to especially the how with
Mm-hmm.
the red, and then creators make money. Like I think that's the bulk, right, of what we're trying to get across
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
here.
There's a couple suggestions in the
Yeah.
chat. I'll read Dave. Dave is saying, I would line all the assets on the bottom. That way it feels like it's encompassing all the things that you guys are talking about. Okay?
Okay.
Let me see. Is there okay, Bruce is saying, just a thought. What about having Grace and Justin on the same plane? Like they're interacting, just the thought, no pressure. On the same
So-
plane. So my assumption of what Bruce is saying is maybe moving you down, kind of like Grace is coming from the bottom, like the corner. Maybe like that's where you are.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's exactly what Bruce is referring to, but that's my interpretation of his comment. Bruce is also saying blue tends to mean serenity, stability, inspiration, or wisdom. Looked it up on Google. Jeff is saying, can you rotate the arrow? See, like, so I wouldn't rotate the arrow because unless we don't make it an arrow and it's like a growth line, then it doesn't look like, you're growing over time.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's just assuming we wanted to keep that element.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Let us know any more suggestions.
So let's see if we're going the Dave route, right?
Mm-hmm.
Shout out Dave. He's also an Orlando friend.
Cool.
Something like this, I assume,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or we could go. My thing is, I would love to know your thoughts. If we go the route of lining things up
Mm-hmm.
on the bottom, should we only keep the black and white,
Oh, good point.
right?
Probably. Also because Grace is very colorful.
Yeah, exactly.
You
And then
know?
I have, I'm colored in,
Yeah.
so to say. My
Yeah.
shirt's black and my hat is that sort of
Yeah.
bluish. But if we go like this, for instance,
Yeah, and then she's sparkly. I like that.
yeah,
And yeah.
and then we
And you have the financial background, so the money's on your
Yep.
side.
so something like that, kind
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
Move the bunny up.
Yeah, I think it's coming together well now. Oh, you know what'd be cool? Like actually, no, you already have it there. Never mind. Well, maybe the light bulb could probably go like in the center, kind of like you guys coming together is creating this idea. I don't know.
1 second. Let's see. I just want to align this.
Carrie is saying, I think you need some variation on the icon sizing will help. Focus on the main points by making them larger. Yeah.
So let's go money.
Yeah, I would make money larger. Yeah.
And then, I mean, we could go design the Design Buddies logo, which I'm cool with that.
Yeah. So that's the design. So is that bunny the logo for the podcast?
No, that's
okay.
that's Grace's.
Grace,
Like
okay.
her. So Design Buddies.
Got it.
Is like that's their mascot. Is
Got
a
it.
bunny.
Got it.
Which is funny.
Yeah.
Grace has done a great job when it comes to branding and everything.
Yeah.
Like that.
Well, let me ask you this, just in terms of the audience you're hoping to reach. If that's a recognizable icon, maybe put it like on the top right, so it's like, like where the light bulb is. Does that make sense? So it's like,
so we go up here.
yeah, because then if I know Grace's community right away, I'd be like, wait a minute, that's Grace. Like I know her. You know what I mean?
That's fair. Okay, so we have this up here. Let's just say, cool. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
And then let's just change this background color. Oh, so have you ever played around with the Adobe Color?
Yeah, I have. Color.adobe.com.
Yes. I just found out about this the other day. I wish I'd known about it more. But like you could easily just type in something like money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then now you have an understanding of what all these colors can be.
Yeah.
Let's see, anything stick out to us?
Well, it's funny that like just a word like money has so many different interpretations, and I can see like for example on this third column, almost like that. That one, like the one below it actually. That one feels like more traditional what money would be, And then there's also like in this culture, in the American culture, money is green, but what if you're in a different country, money is not green?
Yeah.
So like there's so many different ways you can interpret money as color.
For sure. I think the best way. So again, right, if we look at the sort of the makeup of this cover art so far, it's a very playful side of things.
Yeah.
And when I think of that, I think of Monopoly, right? Monopoly
Got it.
money.
Yeah.
So let's see if anything pops up here.
Yeah.
Or like play money, right? This one is interesting over here for color palettes. I think that this could be fun.
Yeah.
And provides a lot of different colors. So let's see. What if we make this the background?
And just copying the hex code? Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it works, especially with the colors you already have in the image.
Yeah. Cool. I like it. All right. So we've got this one down, right? Now let's go back to this one and let's play around with this.
All right.
So I forgot who said it with the having us on the same plane.
Yeah.
I think this one can work. This sort of design template.
Yeah, I think that was Bruce. And if it was somebody else, I apologize.
I think it was.
We don't have like the entire chat history in front of us. We just have like the latest 5 comments on Behance and YouTube, so we can't really scroll up.
All right, so let's see. Let me add back myself and Grace.
And yeah, Bruce is saying that you can have different pages so you can look at different variations. This is what we did earlier when we chose the font. But yeah, Bruce, thank you. And also, Wade just posted the color.adobe.com link in the chat. I would highly recommend checking it out. I use it all the time, especially if you are trying to design something with like maybe the client has a specific color, and then you can find what the opposite color of that is in the complementary in the color wheel, the complementary colors. So you can use it as like a accent color or something like that. I use it all the time.
All right. Let's see. From a layering standpoint, I think I might have to get rid of this one. And actually just... What's the color of this pink, actually? You know, a funny story here.
Oh yeah, I love funny stories.
The way that I learned about layering
Uh-huh.
is from Call of Duty.
Okay, Call of Duty. All right.
And the reason for that is because back in the day for Call of Duty, you could create your own like emblem type of thing. You could customize your own emblem.
Okay.
And so they only had a set amount of like elements that you can use from like square, circle, whatever it may be. So if you wanted to create like a sports team that you really enjoy, or like any sort of object,
slap it on.
You could slap it on, but you have to create it yourself.
Right.
And there was no like background removal,
Right.
no eraser, so you have to get really creative with your layering. So that is the funny story of how I learned about
Yeah,
layering.
I just looked it up because I remember playing the original Call of Duty, so I wanted to figure out when it came out. It came out like in 2003. So yeah, that's the Call of Duty I know. You couldn't slap logos on.
No, yeah, this was Black Ops 1.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
As you get to know me more, you'll know that I love like video games. That's my bread and butter.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything that I've learned is from video games.
Oh man, so I have a confession. I used to love video games. I was so obsessed with, I have an obsessive personality, so I got obsessed with Photoshop, but I got obsessed with video games. And I remember the day that I decided that I was no longer going to play video games. I used to love playing Civilization. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that game, but Civilization was my jam. I used to play that game so much, and one day I played it for 16 hours. And I must have been around 25, 26.
I mean, I've done the same.
Yeah. And then I thought, what am I doing? So then I never, I mean, not never, ever, but like I stopped playing, I stopped being obsessed with games. Every now and again, I might play I'm a soccer player, so I like playing FIFA.
Me too. Yeah. I love playing FIFA.
Yeah, so like I'll play that, but besides that, I don't do 8 hours of video games anymore.
So FIFA is where I learned finance from.
Yeah.
Not sure if you've ever played Ultimate Team before, but yeah, I was a broke college kid.
Okay.
I didn't want to spend money on the game, so I had to learn how to trade my own money.
There you go.
So that's how I learned finance. And that's
there
what
we
got
go.
me into the finance world originally in college.
Video games.
Shout out video games.
Let us know your favorite video games in the chat. I'm old school, so I love Final Fantasy VII was my thing back in the day when I was a kid.
Do you know what this is called? I've never done this in Express, where it auto sizes it.
Yeah, there's a technical term, but auto size works this perfectly.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
All right, so
it's a fluid. What fluid something? Somebody let us know in the chat what it is. I forget all the technical terms sometimes, but auto fills is perfect.
All right, so how creators make money. If we just kept this simple, what do you think?
I think so. It's just super clear. Again, going back to what we said earlier, super clear, super to the point.
Yep. Okay, so I'm gonna make this that blue that we had. What is that blue? What is the color code?
Grace said Maple Story. Is that a game, or what was that related to?
Yeah, Maple Story.
Okay.
That's like OG.
Oh yeah.
Is that PC or is that like old school Nintendo? I forget, but I never played Maple Story a ton, but I know people that did.
Okay, cool. I'm not familiar with that one. And now we're incorporating the colors we chose from color.adobe.com. Love it.
Trying to see. We're gonna get rid of this at the bottom. Let's see what this looks like if we throw in ours. That's too bright. I think we're gonna have to change this image overall because I don't think we're gonna be able to move to change this this pink from there. So let's see. What should we throw in the background of this? Spiral.
Is there any like money pattern?
Let's see, money.
Oh no.
These are all just like dollars.
Yeah, I don't know.
What if Monopoly?
Ooh.
Oh, that's not how you spell Monopoly. Oh, I can't type.
I don't know how those are related. I guess some of those are related to Monopoly.
Probably a copyright thing.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. What else can we do? Let's go back to the spiral.
Way to say in Express, it's called dynamic text.
God, okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
So So we throw this into the background.
And I am so sorry if I mispronounce your name, but Abwallahi, I am so sorry if I mispronounce your name, says that he used to play Duck Hunt. I know I'm very old. I played Duck Hunt as well. That used to be one of my favorite. You had a gun with the original Nintendo. I played that.
Oh, is that what Duck Hunt was?
Oh, wait, am I? Yeah, that's what Duck Hunt. I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
I have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, Duck Hunt. Yeah, with the dog, and then he would laugh if you missed.
This hurts my eyes.
Oh, wow, yeah. Yeah. You don't want to give your viewers a seizure.
This is
Age of Empires 3, Jeff. Yeah. I'm aware of the game, never played it.
Yeah, we're not gonna go.
Yeah, no, I don't think Duck Hunt was Atari. That was the original Nintendo.
Where should we go? Video games. Video game background. Let's see. What if we do a little glitch?
But see, like, one of the things that I like about what we're doing today is like the infinite possibilities,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's not like we're just, somebody will say an idea, you have an idea, I might say, how about that? And then next thing you know, we have a glitch.
Yeah. Like, why not? But I think that's like, people say there's too many, sometimes it'll be like there's too many cooks in the kitchen type of vibe, right?
Yeah.
Which I think it can happen, but
Sure.
when you're doing something that is playful, right? And I think it's important to get a bunch of people's input into it, especially people that might be paying attention to it. And I think a lot of people fail to actually talk to whoever their direct consumer would be, which I would assume a lot of people that are tuning into this live stream, they're content creators or they're designers, and they want to find ways that other people are making money in this world.
Yeah, I think it's good to have people whose opinions you trust.
Yes.
I know that in my world, I probably can think of 3 people whose opinions I really, really trust. So not to say that I wouldn't trust another person's opinion, but like their opinion holds a lot of weight.
For sure.
Because I trust not only that they have their best interests at heart, but they're also knowledgeable in the area where I'm getting advice from. Like,
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like maybe I wouldn't take like fitness advice for you, but if you tell me something about like social media, I'm 100% listening because I know you know. You know what I mean?
Yep. No, I totally get what you're saying there. What do you think about that?
I like it. So one of the interesting things is that it is busy, but not busy where the name is, and it kind of like catches your eye. Like, what is that on the side? And then
Yeah. That's my thinking is the border, right? The glitch
the border
is very busy, but I think it's busy in a way that captures your attention. And then the middle is clear enough that you can...
Yeah. And if you do the zoom out thing again, you'll see that the busyness probably is not going to even seem that busy. See that? Like right there?
So you can still clearly see how creators make money on there. So I think I like that.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do now, because I know we're getting close to time soon.
We have about 6 minutes, 5 minutes.
Yeah. So let me pull up Grace's. One. And
Grace said, "Oh my God, I was also obsessed with games like MapleStory and worked in the game industry. Then I also quit gaming. LOL."
yeah, Grace used to work at EA.
Yeah. And you know what, Grace? I think Grace and I. Remind me, Grace, if we meet at like an Adobe event, because I think I sat next to Grace at like some dinner at some point, or maybe at lunch.
I know she was at Max. If you went to the last one,
I did go to the last Max, but I think I met Grace like in a small Adobe event with like maybe 20 of us, but I'm not 100% sure. Remind me, Grace. I think we met in San Jose. If I met you, it was in San Jose.
She is based here,
okay,
so that would make sense.
Yeah. And I was living in not San Jose, but I was living in Morgan Hill at the time. So yep. That's yep. You sat next to me. I remember that.
See, small world. So here are the 3 that we've got. The one on the left is kind of from an Adobe template that we just remixed a little bit. The one in the middle is the one that we both came up with. And then the one on the right is the one that Grace came up with.
All right, guys. Well, let us know in the chat. What do you guys think? 1, 2, or 3. The numbers are small to see, but they are there on the screen. From left to right, 1, 2, and 3. Let us know in the chat what you think.
Yeah, let us know. And again, this is our competition right here.
Right.
I guess I've just been listening to music.
Also, something I recommend to you guys, like if if you go back to that one screen, you just said this is our competition. What I would recommend you guys is if you're designing something like this, take a screenshot of it and then put yours on top of it.
Oh, we can actually let's play around with that right now. All right, so
yeah, so we could see how it compares.
We've got a little bit of time. Let's see if we can do this really quick.
Okay, so Rochelle likes number 3. Jeff likes number 3. Abdullahi likes number 2. Bruce likes Grace's, which I believe is number 3. And yeah, so this is what I would recommend you guys do. Just take your work. You can do a screenshot too. Also, I guess we will be on it. So I guess downloading it might be better.
Oh,
yeah.
Actually, yeah, we can just do it. That might be quicker.
Maybe zoom out so that we don't because you're gonna get your. Oh no, because
I just resize it.
Yeah. Sorry, no, I'm looking at that, so I thought our heads were gonna be on top of it.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good. I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, Dave says never mind number 3. Sorry, Justin.
It's okay. It's okay.
Hey, we did it on live.
I don't want things favorited. I don't want any favorites being played.
You don't
here.
want any yes men. You want reality.
Yes, exactly. All right, so let's see. Upload.
Just to give you a heads up, we have about 3 minutes.
All right, let's go. Speed run.
Maybe less. Yeah, so there you go. So this is like something I would recommend that you guys do. You place whatever you design where it's gonna live, and you can get a really good sense if what you design not only works for that environment, but also how it works against the competition. You know?
All right. So this is just obviously not to scale, but just so we can get a good idea of what. And I think this is really good advice though too. Whether it's a YouTube thumbnail, right, with title and everything like that, I think this is a good sort of.
And it might actually change your mind because when you see the designs, you're like, oh, I like number 1, 2, 3, whatever better.
Yeah.
But you know what? When I see it against everything else, I actually like this one because it stands out more.
Yep.
You know, so.
Yeah, I actually like. Now that I'm looking at it, I think maybe if we change some of the font on Grace's, but because she has the white behind the how creators make money, I think that makes, again, this is why Grace is a professional designer. It makes it pop a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, because now if you compare it to all the other ones, it's actually like the how on the one that you worked on. You can read it clearly, but it's very difficult to read the rest. You know, like look at the creator CEO, for example, super clear. So yeah,
I think again doing this live, we're trying to piece together every single piece of inspiration that we're seeing.
Yeah.
But I think either way, we've come up with some really good examples here.
Yeah, for sure, and I'm sure people learned a lot.
Yeah.
All right, so we have about a minute left. Let us know, where can we find the podcast?
So
where people can sign up for like a newsletter or something now?
Right now, if you follow me on LinkedIn, that's where I'll be sharing.
What's your LinkedIn?
All the details. It's just if you look up Justin Nguyen, Nguyen on LinkedIn, probably one of the first ones to pop up with a Vietnamese guy with a backwards hat.
Backwards hat.
Yeah,
just like the cartoon.
Exactly, just like the cartoon, but IRL, right?
Yeah.
So check out either myself or Grace on LinkedIn. That's probably the easiest place, and we'll be talking about the pod once we do release it at the end of January.
End of January, awesome.
Yep. I'll actually, like I said, I'll be recording the pod
today.
Yeah,
so awesome.
Can't wait.
Awesome. All right, everybody, thank you so much. We're going to be back with more Adobe Live. I don't know if you want to put the screen on. There we go. New year, new look for drawing a blank. Voodoo Val and Justin Nguyen are going to be here in just a couple minutes. And then I'll be back at noon with Voodoo Val, where I'll be teaching Photoshop techniques, advanced Photoshop techniques. And I already promised you guys I'm going to talk about layer comping in Photoshop. So we'll see you then. Thank you so much. And it was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jesus.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
What we're going to be doing is 3 different designs. So I just made it 5x7 because I guess that's what the typical invite is. The text to image, let's throw a background. Green nature, white aesthetic. I like this one because there's a lot of white. The next thing that I want to add is just our names. Go to shapes, just go basic square. Let's make this like an off-white-ish. So let me just throw the date on here really quick. We're good with this one. We can move on to the template. Right? We'll save this one here, make one the same size, and then this one we're gonna go through some templates. Let's just do wedding invites. Let's go with this one. So we're gonna change the background color. What about a sage green? I think we just keep playing around. Right?
Yeah.
So Google Drive is like just automatically inputted in here. So I just made a little folder earlier today where we've just got some photos from our engagement. Okay, so we've got this one.
That looks good. I love that picture.
And this one. If we throw in an animation here, animate in, I kind of like the slide.
I kind of like that.
What if we extend it a little longer?
I love
Let's
that.
see. I think these hearts could be interesting to animate. How we feel?
I like that.
You like that? Let's throw an animation on the flowers.
Oh.
So here are the 3 options we've got.
Wow. Oh my gosh, Justin.
I think that's beautiful.
Look, we created your whole save.
Shout out Adobe Express.
Shout out to Adobe Express. Thank you so much, Justin, for just showing us how to create invitations through Adobe Express. Bye.
Thank you so much. Subscribe to Adobe.
Yes.
All right, what is going on, everyone? I'm super excited to be here. My name is Justin Nguyen. I'm here with Voodoo Val, who we've got a little bit of a crazy backstory that we'll dive into a little bit.
Yep, there's lore.
There's some lore here. There's some lore. Years of lore, actually. But we're going to be diving into Adobe Express again in this session. New year, new look for drawing a blank.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this because we kind of got to debut the graphics and stuff for the show already, but now I get to kind of show you guys a little bit of behind the scenes, make maybe some new graphics for it. But first, I would love to show you guys all the different stuff I do, because we're pretty much doing just graphic design today. But I'm also a painter and illustrator, so we could pop over a
Got
little
the
bit.
full skill set.
Yeah, I'll do my little
skills to pay the bills,
Yeah.
Here we are.
I'm trying. So I'm a dark fantasy artist. I do a lot of illustrations for a lot of different projects. I do a lot of like Dungeons and Dragons stuff. I've worked with Dimension 20 and some Smarty Pants with College Humor.
Oh, awesome.
I think I don't have it up here, but I'm really excited to say that I have officially done my very first book cover.
Ah, there we go.
That debuted, and I did the cover of Star Wars: The Rise of Darth Vader for the reprint for 2025. I'm really excited, and I've also done. I actually have one of the projects that I did. I've done a couple of. If I can, there we go. My buttons are working. I did this. This was for. Star Wars Inquisitor, Rise of the Red Blade. So it comes with like a little poster and stuff. So I do a lot of like dark, spooky, scary, science fiction, dark fantasy type stuff. And then I also do like little kind of children's illustration things and a lot of prop design and things for video games. Which is maybe a weird combo. I apologize for the loading. It's coming. There we go.
Wow, that's amazing.
I play a lot of Animal Crossing.
There you go.
So there's a lot of Animal Crossing stuff.
Is Animal Crossing similar to like Maple Story?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I know Grace was talking about Maple Story in the live right before this.
I've got a problem when it comes to Animal Crossing. I think I came in late to the game and immediately just started logging hours. I think I'm up to like 1,100 hours of gameplay.
Look, if there's one thing me, you, and Jesus all have in common today, we are gamers.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got the comment section over here too. So if any of you have gaming stories, whatever it may be, any questions, feel free to drop those in there. I'll make sure that Val gets a little bit, gets those insights whenever you drop them in.
Thanks, guys.
Kaylee says hi. Michelle says hi again. What's up? Grace says yes. Animal Crossing.
Idara's in the chat. Hey, girl.
Shout out Idara. Jacob says, "Don't forget us when you're famous." Yes, please.
I don't know. I'm gonna be honest, guys. It's one of those things. Maybe we can talk about that a little bit too as we go through our creative session here. But doing the Star Wars work is one of those things where like I'm such a Star Wars fan that I only felt good during those projects when I was offered the job, and when the job was over and they told me I did a good job. I did not feel good while I was working on it because I was like, I'm going to ruin Star Wars.
Yeah.
I'm going to ruin Star Wars if I don't do a good job on this. I was like panicking, but it was a lot of fun to work on. But for what we're doing today, some of you may recognize some of these pieces. So Drawing a Blank got a glow up, and it features Cody and I using Photoshop tools as weapons in a fighting game. So I've got the zoom tool here. That's my zoom tool magnifying glass. I've got the magic wand tool in my hand. Cody has got the eyedropper as a sword and the lasso tool. And we did like this whole thing where we have like our loading screen and it's got an animation which I can play. Let me jump in here. We will close that and I'll just play. So it looks like a video game, you know, and then I have like our little icons that pop up, almost like you are like getting ready to either create a new game or continue or whatever. And then we also have I wanted to do like a player select for our face cam region. So our player select while we're talking looks like this. So it looks there's a tiny bit of animation on here just to show like we are loading in on our little characters here.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And what I did for all of these is I utilized a background color in effort to like chroma key it into Streamlabs and stuff. So I have blue in the background, and a lot of you folks might have some experience or have seen live streamers. They have like a green screen. Really, it's green is the most common color for green screen or for chroma keying something out into your stream region, but it doesn't actually have to be green. So for a little bit of context on how the green screening works is like anything that is the color that you select when you chroma key or ultra key or color key something out is going to be removed. And depending on, I guess, what settings you're using or how similar those things are. Sometimes there could be a similarity between other colors on the subject or in the art, like we are looking at here. Neon green, like that super vivid lime neon green, is such an uncommon color for people to be wearing or to show up in anything else. It's typically what's used to color key stuff out.
Gotcha.
You're not typically going to find that out in the wild or in somebody's outfit, so it's easy to say, remove everything that is this color. But in this case, I've got green on my artwork, so I chose a blue because I don't actually use blue anywhere in these graphics.
Okay.
So yeah, I chose blue for anything that had animation on it to color key out, and I got to do some cool stuff like this. So I'm gonna do our little, these are our transitions for different rounds. So I have my little thing bounce in. And so we did that every time we changed to, because we have prompts that people can vote on to add to our work throughout, and we have a 3 prompts to do. So every round we had this. And then we have a new boss fight section of the stream now, which is essentially the same. It's the same animation, just
who's
with
the
boss fight. So what we do is we have our 3 prompts, and the chat gets to vote on every prompt, like an either or, which it's called drawing a blank because it's kind of like creative Mad Libs.
Gotcha.
So I can actually go over to our overlay, which I've kind of got like a Diablo-esque. I don't know if there's any Diablo fans in the in the chat. I tried to make this like family-friendly Diablo sort of, so I have like the mana pots and the the health pot and stuff. But we have like this was from our previous episode: crafting material from the ocean or desert, buried ore from the forest or cave, rare items from the oceans or forest. And we were doing a video game themed episode where we were illustrating crafting materials that you might find in a game. So every round, the chat gets to vote on either or, like ocean or desert, forest, cave. And then our final boss got to tell us what we were building with our materials. So we have to like rush to the finish. In the last like 5 or 10 minutes, we were like sketching and trying to make something just to kind of include the chat. So this is kind of the set that I have. And I've come to the conclusion that there's a few more things that I need for this. And one of those is lower third announcements throughout the stream. So what I'm going to do first, actually, is I'm going to pop over to Fresco. on my iPad, and we're going to do a little bit of concepting and stuff, sketching, concepting, to kind of get a feel for what exactly I want to create. And then we're going to open my file in Adobe Express, and we're going to start building those animations and stuff. And the next episode of Drawing a Blank, you will see them on the screen.
Can't wait. Let's do it.
So this is,
Pause.
Pause.
You know what would be funny? So right now we've got a green screen in the background, right?
Yes.
Now if that green screen was black, you and
All
I
of
would be
this-
bald.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'd be a floating head.
Honestly, kind of cool.
Kinda
I wonder,
wild.
you know what? I don't think it works. I was going to say, I wonder if I drew something green, would it chroma key out? But this is a screen capture, so it wouldn't work.
We would have to be holding the green thing. Right?
You know what was actually really cool is one year when we were streaming on Adobe Live on Halloween. I believe it was Kathleen Illustrated. Her Halloween costume was the free transform tool.
Okay.
And so she came in, she had a white t-shirt on, and she put a green square with like the transform brackets on it, and that was what her costume was, and it chroma keyed like a hole through her.
Oh my god.
It was really cool.
I mean, that's a great Halloween costume.
Isn't it just? All right, so this is Fresco, and you can see I've actually named my file. That's how you know I mean business.
Low key. That's what any designer means business.
Yeah.
If you name the file before you're getting started.
Oh, you're gonna finish this one. Yeah.
You're locked in.
It's either how you know I mean business or you know I'm going to be live streaming. That's,
Fair.
So I have a couple of ideas for how this might work. And the first is just like, if you can imagine, like, let's say this thumbnail is like the screen.
Yep.
You're watching the stream, and our webcams are in the corner. We've got our little manipots. We've got our prompts down at the bottom, and then typically our screen is split in half because Cody, she illustrates over here, and then I illustrate over here, and we kind of do like this dueling, a friendly battle of creativity.
It's like the dueling piano bars.
Yeah, exactly.
Type of vibe,
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
And it's a lot of fun. But what I wanted to do is, and I'm gonna change to red here just so I can really see this. What I wanted to do is maybe a little box that might just pop up like every 7 to 10 minutes.
Okay.
And it would pop up and it would say, something. What I'm wanting to make an announcement for is we did the first one of the show, adding the new you could become the final boss. But I felt like I could have done a better job of announcing that was a new feature for the show and how you folks in the chat could become the final boss, which is every episode we post on Instagram like usual, but at the 10-minute mark, until we go offline, we actually do a raffle choosing a comment from that Instagram post, and if you're chosen, then you get to be the one to like throw us a curveball as our final
that's
boss
cool. Okay.
during the show.
I see what you're saying.
So I think it would be really cool to have like this little box come up, where you can still see most of our artwork here, so it's not too crazy, and then maybe have like a little burst of like stars kind of pop up, and then this would come up, and then the stars would pop out, and then maybe they would rotate, maybe the stars themselves have animation, and then it would go down behind the box, and then the box would go off screen.
Gotcha.
Is kind of the idea. And I'm thinking that the illustration itself would be it could just be like a rounded box, because I have like a lot of like rounded box corners in the rest of the designs themselves. So something like this, and it would be like, wanna become the final boss? Here is some instructions on how to do that, and then our stars. So I'm gonna this is gonna be my main sketch for this little idea. And I typically do this anytime I'm going to do an illustration that is going to be animated or have some movement, especially if I'm moving into Express for it. I typically do like messy sketches like this just to have something to work off of, because sometimes I get into Express and I can feel a little lost if I don't have like a starting point. And so it's like, this is my version of like starting with a template.
Gotcha.
Right?
Gotcha.
You know, kind of brainstorming the gesture of all these animations and how it's going to work.
So this is like the box that, let's just say you're playing a video game, Skyrim, whatever it may be, right? You walk,
Hey, Skyrim.
shout out Skyrim. Like you walk up to a character or something, and then it's like press A if you want to talk to this person. But in this example, it'd be like, if you want to become the boss, then do X, Y, Z.
This is how you do it.
Gotcha.
I also thought about like what would be cool is to kind of blend it into the UI that's already there, because my worry is that things will become too cluttered. There's too much going on. We already have like 2 illustrators on the stream, and things could get a little crazy. So I'm wondering, like, what could I actually do to blend it in? And I was also thinking, we have like those the mana pots, the health pots illustrations that are on the overlay already. On the left and right, I kind of sketched them in here to what our overlay looks like, which I previewed earlier. And it would be cool if, so we have the overlay that kind of extends after that, and we have our prompt here, but maybe every few minutes something like almost like a drawer pulls out and like slides over the whole prompt. You know, so that little text region transforms into something else. So I was thinking it would be cool to have like a lower third that just kind of, let me grab my handy dandy sketching so I know what's moving. I kind of do that, like if I'm doing like a concept sketch, I sketch my layout and then I use some brighter color that can't be ignored as like the like this is what moves once we do our thing. So this would slide underneath the mana pot, underneath the you know, the webcam that would be on the other side, and it would slide out here. It could even do like a little bounce for a second, and then it would slide back out, is kind of the idea for that one. So we can try that little gesture. And then, of course, there is also the idea that we could honestly just have a regular lower third that just kind of comes up just, you know, at the bottom of the page.
Gotcha.
And says something. We could have it, you know, because we have in our little sketch, we have our little prompt that goes in the center here. So maybe it just slides up into place right there and says something else. So it doesn't have to, like, I don't have to maneuver, like, this is going to be animating under all of these other pieces.
Is there usually a lot of moving parts in that bottom of your screen, or is that typically like a static image?
I believe that the webcam, once we're working on screen, is the only thing that I did not animate. So there's no animation on that page just yet. And it would be like, this would be something where I don't even animate really the overlay. I would animate the pop-up gesture as a lower third, and then I would add, after it like disappears off screen, I would just add 7 minutes of empty space, and then I would put it in Streamlabs or OBS or whatever it is you're using to stream if you decide to do this for yours, and I would just loop it. It would just keep coming up every 7 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think that works better than something else popping up in the middle of the screen. Because it doesn't take away from whatever it is that's happening.
All the thing that's going on. Yeah. That's what I was thinking. And I really liked it because it's pretty. But I think that something that might be more practical is like, you know, a little bar that says what it's going to say, that slides up over the place where you already expect text to be, because we've got our prompt there. And it was similar in our previous show where we had our prompt at the bottom, just like that. So it's like a recognizable space. So I think we might end up going with that, but I'm going to try animating it all and just see what we like.
Cool.
So I have this. I'm going to go ahead and save.
So Bruce asks, all in Express, Val?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it all in Express. Okay. I did illustrate the original illustrations of Cody and I in Fresco. And I think I tweaked it a little bit in Photoshop, but mostly Fresco for the illustrations. But then I did everything else in Express. So I'm actually going to pop back over to Express real quick because I should be able to go to my stuff. And I'm going to see real quick, is there a spare... Can you hand me that mouse pad over there?
Mouse pad?
Yeah. I usually snag it, but I noticed my mouse is like Maybe I'll work.
No, you're good.
Maybe.
You know, it's always fascinating to see like pro iPad design users. Like you've got your little sleeve on right now.
I do.
And I'm like, I've never seen that. That's so cool though.
It's like padded because sometimes I illustrate for like hours.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like, you know, like this is a hand and this is a ninja hand. You know, like it's really cool.
Well, I was looking, I was like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what that's for.
It's number one, it protects my glass. And I didn't used to use this, but I recently started because I updated my iPad finally, and wonderfully everything, it's like really, really sensitive. And it's like perfect. So I draw better on it, but also every time my hand touched the glass, it was like, how about a scribble?
Yep.
How about a little scribble here? And I'm like, please stop ruining my art.
Yeah. I was looking, I was like, that makes sense why that's a thing. I would have never thought. Right?
It's actually really fun, and it feels good too.
Yeah,
it feels,
I'm sure.
feels
Sorry,
nice. No,
sidetracking you.
I think that's a great question though, because some people see it and they're like, that's an interesting fashion statement you're making there. So I should be able to come into my stuff, and then look, there's our sketch right there.
There you go.
And I can say create new Express file. Let's just do a square post because I just want to have it. Up while I work. I'm actually going to come into, maybe we can do this one here because I do want to test out this gesture because I think it would be cool. But let's come over and can I just open this in a new? Yeah, let's open
Bruce
another one.
says ninja hands.
Ninja hands.
And then Jeff says, wait, Val has a dark glove. Is she the Sith?
I have always been a Sith, darling. Didn't you know this? No Jedis in this house. Okay, we're going to come back over to our main drawing a blank stuff too, and I'm going to come into pages. This is such a huge project. Not my largest Express pages project, though. I think I have a project for a client that's like 40 pages or something, 40, 30, maybe it's 30 pages. But I typically, like if I'm doing, like I have like my social media posts and my, my stories, and why not have everything here so that I can just go to drawing a blank, go to pages and export whatever I need, whether I'm on my laptop, my iPad, or my iPhone.
Yep. It just makes it easy that everything is just
perfect.
Right there.
So we're going to come in, I'm going to make another page, and we are going to resize this to a square post, because a square post will work for us, and I'm going to have my little reference here so I can see what I meant to do, and then I'm going to animate this. So we are going to first come over to, I have a brand for drawing a blank. And something that I want to point out, I have a library for drawing a blank, but if you go into your stuff and go to libraries and click, you can say use as brand.
Oh, okay.
If you want to, so you can create a whole library all organized and stuff, and then use that library as a brand in Express, and it's pretty amazing. So I have all my color palettes and all of my swatches and stuff. I've got no logos right now, but I have all of the assets. So you can see these are all the pieces, like the slide-in pieces from everything. And then my little mana and health, which I guess it's green and red, but I didn't have any blue in the design. I thought it'd be weird to just like suddenly start using blue in only one of the assets.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, it would have been blue. It would have been like Diablo blue. And then I believe I have my fonts and stuff, but what we're going to do is let's change our background color to something that we use for our brand. I think we'll just do like this tan. We'll come over to elements, and I am just going to start with basic shapes. That's how I did a lot of these, is I started with a basic shape. There's really no need to be super fancy when it comes to all this stuff. If you start wanting to get fancy, like I did with some of the custom illustrations, totally fine. But you can do a lot with some of these things here in Express that's just already available to you for free. Let's do purple, because your girl likes purple. And what I want is, we'll actually do this in the center. Let's do this in the middle. We can make it a little wider. Let's grab a star or two.
And this is the one that we were talking about that pops up in the middle. Some stars are animated.
Little round, and then it would disappear. And I'm just gonna kind of broadly figure out how this is going to be. Let's go ahead and remove this border. I don't like the border. Is there, hold on. I want a star with round corners. That's what I want. Like that.
Like
that
a
one's
Patrick
a good
star?
one. Yeah. No, this is Patrick. Actually, let's do this one. This is cute. We'll do that. I don't know about this color, to be perfectly honest, but we're gonna just add what we can. I don't want it to break the outside border of this because we are in the animation gonna hide it behind the shape. You know, I'm gonna change the background color. We're gonna change the background color to blue because blue is what we would use to chroma key because there's no blue anywhere else.
Yep.
So let's do that. I'm gonna duplicate this and I'm gonna rotate that. We're gonna have that right there and we're gonna duplicate this again. And we're gonna rotate that like so. There we go. And now we're going to add some text. I'm just going to add some placeholder text. So we have something. Let's go to our brand fonts. We can say, let's not do italics. Let's just do regular. We can say lower third, question mark?
Sure.
Yes. Indeed it is.
I'll take it.
Yeah. And we're going to center that.
This is why I love these live streams because it's like we always have these conversations, but usually by ourselves.
Yeah,
when
right?
we're doing this.
I'm in my office by myself every day. Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
What? And I have like voices that I do inside my head, but sometimes outside.
Yeah.
And it's
Like the thing is like we probably have these conversations with ourselves without the camera and the mics on when we're doing this work by ourselves.
Absolutely.
So we probably look crazy.
Yeah.
But because
look
we're
nuts.
live streaming and
Yeah.
I'm here, you don't look as crazy.
That's why you know what? I feel like that's why some of us probably took well to live streaming, right? Because we're used to like arguing with ourselves out loud in the first place.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, when I first started streaming, I tried to like not be weird. Your girl can't not be weird. So I was like, thank God you guys do find this amusing because when I'm by myself, I'm like this. I'm happy to hear you are too.
Oh, trust me, it sounds like you're talking to yourself when you're
Yeah.
just in your apartment, in your house, whatever it is, your office, and you're literally talking to yourself.
It's very productive, to be honest. It's a very productive way to be, but it's also shocking to anybody who is not used to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think there's just some text that works. Now we're going to animate this, and I'm going to talk about some of my new favorite features to animation. New being relative. It's the newest feature that I have like really started using, but honestly, you guys need to keep up to date with the Adobe Express updates and things, because Adobe Express, it feels like Express updates like every week, every
for
2
sure.
weeks, you know?
For sure.
There's always so many brand new things coming. So this is how we're going to do this. We're going to, first of all, open our edit timeline so we can see everything. And in fact, I'm going to, let's zoom out just a tad to like, is 25 too, yeah, 25 is too small. Can I do like,
How big would this be on like a normal screen? Because that's kind of what we're doing with our
yeah.
podcast art stuff too, right?
Yeah, you kind of have to eyeball it, like what feels right. Sometimes I will be like, okay, it needs to be like, it needs to take up 25%, you know. But sometimes in the essence of like, just getting the work done or like getting it down.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't be that precious about it. So this is how I'm going to do this. I'm going to animate this first. And we are going to do animate things separate, not animate all. But what I want to do is have this kind of slide up. So our animate in, which is selected first, we are going to do a slide. It's probably going to do it.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go into the settings for this. We are going to do, we are not going to do fade. We are going to do, so that it there's no like opacity change of the element itself. The reason for that is if we're going to chroma key these, so we're going to tell it to remove anything that's got this blue in the background so that it looks like a transparent, almost like a mugger, that like slides up, whatever, a template for something in Premiere. If you start adding opacity or opacity changes to your elements, it's going to start to see that blue through it, and it's going to clip weird. You don't want it to do that. Also, I'm going to say start outside page. Start outside page is my new favorite thing ever. And I can have it go up. So this is going to start outside of our page, and then when it goes out, it is going to disappear off of the page completely. This was not something we always had in Express. You used to have to just put it where you wanted it to land, and Express would kind of start the animation when it felt like it.
Shout out to the update.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been a major game changer. In fact, I don't think that I could have really done all of these live streaming graphics if not for a lot of these new features, because I saw them and I'm like, I could cook with this.
Hey.
I could cook some magic up with this.
The one good thing about the Adobe team, not the one good thing, but one of the good things.
One of the things that sticks out right
is
now.
They move quick. Do you have a suggestion? As long as a certain amount of people hit that suggestion, they're gonna listen to you, and
Absolutely.
that update it'll come through. Right?
Absolutely.
So,
I think people don't realize that, like, when you go to the forum, right? You go to like the help forums and stuff, the user voice pages. Those are real people that are reviewing those all the time. I know some of them. They're real human beings who go through and they read all of your suggestions and stuff, and they really do take to heart the things that you guys share with them as far as your desires for future settings, future features, feature improvements, things like that. So definitely head over there and let them know if there's something that you would like to see, because they're listening. So I just did in and out the same. So it should be like a slide up, and then it should be a slide down. And we're gonna loop it. Let's do something. We could do Bob, but it should not be intense. I don't want it to be just.
I think it's funny that they call that Bob, the Bob.
Well, because it's almost like it's in water.
Yeah.
You know.
Is that a noun technically? Like, is that an actual noun in the dictionary?
It could be. I don't think that we care anymore. I think we've just been doing our own thing. I think we've just been making it up as we go.
I love it.
We could do, oh, you know what? Breathe would be fun. That might be too much. Maybe we don't even need a looping. It might be too crazy. Might be a little too wild, because we're about to do these too.
Well, how long is it staying up?
I'm thinking, I have it just for a few seconds right now. It would be a little while longer, but since we might not eventually use this one, just like a fun experiment, I won't be too precious about it, but let's go. I'm going to scrub through and see, when does this arrive? So this goes up, and we are going to bump our stars at least to that point, because I don't want our stars to pop in just yet. So I'm gonna bump this up. Let's come here. And then I'm gonna bump this one more time. Basically what I'm doing is I'm using this playhead as like a placeholder. So you can see I've got all of those staggered. They're not super perfect. But I also want to make sure I'm gonna hold shift and select all of our stars. I'm gonna give them different, kind of animate them separately as well. So we will do, the in is going to be, we're going to do a, is rise, how is rise, no, we want to do slide. We're going to do slide, we're going to slide them up, are we going to start them outside? I don't know if we're going to start them outside.
What does that look like if it's...
Yeah,
it seems kind of far.
Yeah, it does seem kind of far. Actually, that's perfect.
Because it looks like it comes up behind the...
Yeah, from behind it. My only thing is I want to see, was that on fade just now?
Ooh.
Yeah. Let's see if this... Yeah, see, it comes out from behind. So I don't want it to start outside the page, but I also don't want fade on. So let's do it. Boom, boom, boom. Go into our animation settings. Let's not do it start outside the page, but let's also not fade it because it doesn't need to fade. Let's do the out. I want it to pop. I want them to like pop out so that we don't have to try to fade it back down behind before it slides out. And then we're going to loop, and we are going to give this like a little wiggle.
Did you unclick the fade on the other one?
That is a great question. That's a fabulous question. Let's do, oh no, I'm going to spin these. Okay, let's double check. I don't know why I scrolled back on the playhead when I can just select all these.
On the out, I think, right? Yeah, on the pop.
Yeah, let's check that. Pop. Oh, it doesn't,
even
have
have
fade.
fade.
Yeah, it doesn't have fade. Okay, let's try this out. In fact, I'm going to bump this down so that we can kind of see more of this. Okay. Maybe not that zoomed in. We'll do it like right there. Let's see what this looks like. Let's see if I did it. Not
Love
bad.
it. I like it.
And then it should kind of wink out.
Oh,
yeah.
that's cool.
That's kind of
cool.
neat.
Yeah.
So then it's like, and I think maybe, right about here, it would be cool if they were, maybe they do have like a little kind of a bob to them or whatever. It would be kind of interesting. Even this would be cool if it had like a little more motion to it, so it's not like crazy, but kind of an interesting way to create a little graphic that would pop up. So there's one. And I think that we can also go to, I'm going to come back in here because I've got some other concepts that we wanted to try. So we did like something like this, but I kind of want to have one that might slide in and be a little bit more practical. So we can come in to I'm actually going to duplicate this. No! Did I just?
Command Z or Control Z.
Thank you.
Honestly, that has saved my life
you, Adobe God.
so much.
Woo! I gotta just let me give thanks.
We're good. We're
for
good.
a second. Yeah.
We're good. We're moving.
My back just tensed up.
You would have had to cook real quick.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to, all right, no more talking from me. You entertain the people while I
But we're good. We're good.
Okay. We're gonna duplicate page.
You know,
Don't delete it.
Why did the English gods choose to make the word duplicate the same first letter as delete?
I don't know. And I don't know why the Adobe gods decided to put only those two options together when you click the three dots. But maybe it's a me problem. Maybe it's not a you problem. Maybe it's a me problem.
It's like the Taylor Swift song. It's
Yeah.
me. I'm the problem.
It's me. Hi. That song? I think
Yeah,
that's the song.
that's the
Okay.
song. Saw that live.
Did you really?
I did.
That's cool. I've been to one concert ever, and it was at Adobe Max. I'm not really a concert guy or concert girl. I'm not.
They are a good experience though.
There's
for
a
the
lot
right
of people.
artists.
There's so many people.
It
though.
is a lot of people.
Yeah, and
But it's a vibe sometimes.
I love people. I just don't know if I want them to be right here. Does that make sense?
Fair.
I'm an inside cat. Okay, so we have our little thing, and I'm going to hide this because I don't know if anybody really saw this, or maybe I'll just bump it up. The icons are down here, and it's kind of like, shout out to my WoW fans, anybody who plays WoW, anybody who plays like Diablo and has like a toolbar at the bottom with your health and mana and everything. This was kind of like, paying it up to you guys. So I put our little icons that I use in the animation, everything to make this really game-ish, down at the bottom here. But I'm gonna keep this moved for now while we kind of build what this could be. Now I have this little guy kind of over this because all of the icons are down below here, and I just wanted to kind of gray them out because I wanted to have a little bit more readability on our text down here. And I'm wondering, maybe can we bump us? I don't know if we can bump us, just so that I'm not like covering. Yeah, there we go. Thanks.
Love it.
I wanted a little more visibility on our prompt for the show. But maybe we could do something really interesting, because what I did is every episode, I just go change the prompt in Express and export it. And I was exporting it as an image with transparent background, but what I could do is actually export it as an MP4 when I edit it, and change the background, which is actually really not that intensive. Also, I want to point something out to everybody. When you export, like if I was going to download this MP4 best for audio animations, you can choose the size and stuff. When I live stream, the best, at least for the kind of style and stuff that I'm going for here with like very clean edges, clean shapes, the best resolution actually when I was exporting animated overlays to chroma key was 720.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and I did a couple of them at 1080, but it's very simple shapes, simple designs, and I just needed like it to be crispy around the edges, and it was fine.
That's good.
Yeah, so it doesn't take me a long time to export them. So what I could do is we could animate the whole thing. We could animate this thing dropping down, so we can remove our prompt. So we can say, I just had this idea just now. Instead of animating a brand new thing, we're going to animate the whole dang overlay. Let's go ahead and drop that down.
So Munir says Valkyrie's in the house. Is that a WoW term? Is that a...
Valkyrie has been my gaming nickname since I was like 6 or 7. So that's like Voodoo Val, you know.
It's all connected.
So it's all connected. Yeah, it's all connected. So I am going to... Am I going to fade it? I think...
And why are you thinking about fading this versus not the last one? Is there a reason
because
why?
This one, there's nothing transparent behind it. Like, I'm not trying to chroma key from behind, so it can be faded if I wanted to fade it.
Because you have the purplish...
The bar is there.
Bar.
I don't want to fade the other stuff, because then you would see what needs to be chroma keyed slowly fading into the element itself, but this one's fine.
Gotcha.
It's not going to do that. So we are going to... do I like that slide? I don't know if I like that slide. Let's bungee it, because I like Bungie. I don't care what anybody says. Not that people have said something bad about Bungie. I don't know. No, I've never heard somebody complain about Bungie. I love Bungie.
I think the only Bungie people complain about is because didn't Bungie make Halo?
Yeah. You're a gamer. This is cool. I've never once made a Bungie joke on one of these streams, but I'm here. I'm here for it. This is great. Okay, let's go ahead and play that. So, I only animated it in. We want to animate out. This is going to be a much longer illustration, or animation, by the way. We're going to do 10 seconds.
So Munir asked, does this also live on Behance? It does, right?
The live stream itself?
I believe they're talking about
Yeah. The live stream, if you were on the main page watching on your desktop right now on Behance, if you scroll down below, there should be a schedule and some archived videos there where you can see. I'm still encountering people all the time that don't know that there's something right under the video player, so explore down there if you want to. I actually didn't know there's anything down there for the longest time too, and they were like, where do I find it? And I was like, on Behance. And they're like, what does that mean? And I'm like, good question. That's a great question.
See,
Let's
that's
figure
why
it out.
we do these. That's why we do these.
So I'm trying to think of the logistics. Like, if I animate this, it's going to have to be like 10 minutes long.
The whole animation?
Yeah, because it needs to loop throughout the stream. However, if the underneath is like, okay, I have my pages.
Yeah.
Right.
When we're talking about the animation, we're talking about the text.
Yeah, the text. Like
Right
if I'm
now.
going to
Okay.
drop that down and then drop pull the announcement up.
Yes.
Right? That's going to need, I don't want that to be happening all the time. That would be annoying.
That
right?
would be true ADHD
Yeah.
editing.
Yeah, that would be like bombarding.
Your retention might be high though.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, yeah. But I feel like that's going to be annoying. So really, I want the prompt to slide down, and then the announcement to slide up once every 10 minutes or so. Because 10 minutes is, if we're doing an hour-long show, and we have like a few minutes at the beginning of the show. This is like really deep dive into like the behind the scenes of how we do these shows on Adobe Live. So you really are only live for 55 minutes of a 60-minute show, because we stop 5 minutes before the hour to make way for everyone who's coming in after us to connect into the YouTube channel or to come into the studio and set up, right? We have a little time. So I have a few minutes for the intro of the show to introduce myself, my guest, if I have a guest, and the concept of the stream. We get into the meat of the show, and then we do an outro at like maybe 7 minutes till, and then we have to end 5 minutes before the hour. So you're really only designing for like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And if I show it 6 times, or we could do 5 times, we could do it like every 10 minutes.
So you want it to pop up 5 times?
Yeah,
so
like
every 9
like how
minutes?
many times is that going to be?
Yeah.
And every time I see it in my streaming, I could be like, oh, it's changing, and I can be like, by the way, here's our announcement, and it's not something that I have to click and do, it's just doing itself, right?
Okay. So you want to automate it rather than like having a button.
Because I did not automate these, like the round 1, round 2. I actually have a duplication of my work scene, and each one has a different transition at the top of it. So I just flip to a duplication of what I'm already on, and then it looks like it just plays.
Gotcha.
You know.
Gotcha.
So when I do my prep for the stream, if I just make a static version of it and then also an animated version of it, then I can have my static image of our overlay that always has the prompt if I want. And then I can have a version of just what slides up.
Could you, I don't know much about live stream production, so to say, but could you static image it for 9 minutes and then animate it for a minute?
Yeah.
Is that what you're kind of talking about?
Yeah,
then?
so that it's not like uber intensive. It could just like turn off. Another thing that I could do is we could also get like Premiere involved, and I could just make the animation of the overlay, and then it's just the prompt itself, not so that I don't have to like make an animation with our new prompt for the show. It's just the prompt for the announcement.
Gotcha.
And I could just make one animation, and then I could drag it into Premiere and just add 10 minutes or like 9
on the timeline or whatever.
Yeah, 9 minutes
yeah.
on the timeline, and then export that, which honestly might be what I might do. Now that I'm thinking of the logistics of this.
This
so
is
we're
why we
gonna,
talk to ourselves.
This is why we talk to ourselves. This is why we talk. So let's see how this would work. Instead of animating this out, maybe that was a mistake. Let's animate something up over the top of this.
Okay.
So I'm gonna come in with this shape.
Jeff says, wait, do you have a Stream Deck? You can map the animations to a button.
I do have a Stream Deck. I don't use my Stream Deck because I moved and I never set it back up. Maybe I should be using my Stream Deck. It's kind of old because I started live streaming in 2014, excuse me. I've been and streaming on Twitch and all that stuff, and I had one for my alerts and stuff on Twitch. Okay, let's.
I'm trying to remember when our first live stream was.
It was like
2019?
yeah.
2020?
Yeah.
I want to say.
I'm trying to remember where I was. I've moved a few times.
I remember it was about Snapchat thumbnails.
Yeah.
But I don't remember.
It might have been 2020.
Yeah, 2020. That sounds
2020
about right.
yeah.
Because it wasn't in the studio, so I would assume it was during that time.
We hung out. This is our the lore we were talking about.
Yeah.
There is Justin Val lore where you work with somebody online and then you see them in person. And you're like, we know each other.
I think.
We know.
Well, because like we only know each other from like the head up, right?
Yeah, like that's what I always tell people. I'm like, for all you know, we could be centaurs and mermaids.
Yeah.
Like you don't know. It's like.
Well, the funniest thing is, at least for me, was when I'm meeting people for the first time, because I have a lot of like internet friends, right? Just because of the nature of the work that we're in. It's like how tall, like people's height, because you cannot see that.
Everybody always thinks I'm short, and so because I don't think I'm that short. I'm the shortest person in my family,
like
but everybody's
my
like,
height.
yeah, I think, but I don't think I'm short at all.
No.
But like I think people think that when they see me on stream that I'm going to be short, but then also like I thought Andrew Hockrattle was a normal height, and he's
Andrew's
like
tall.
6'6", 6'5",
Andrew's
something.
tall.
Andrew's tall. Andrew's like warrior tall.
I think that's always the funniest first reaction is like, oh,
Oh, hello.
you're a lot taller than I thought, or
Yeah.
because you have literally zero idea because
No.
you're just seeing like shoulder up for most of these people on Zoom or whatever it is.
It's one of my favorite things though, just to like really get to know somebody in person, after so long kind of hanging out. I think I don't want it to break the boundaries of that. We're gonna fade it. Okay, this is what I'm doing. Sorry, just a little.
No, you're good. Okay, apparently we're making everyone laugh, so we're doing a good job.
Are we doing a good job?
We're doing a good job.
Yeah, we're doing a good job.
Yes, sir.
Yes. All right, so I think that I'm gonna have this just like slide in or fade in, because we can do that fade because there's something behind it. So it'll fade in, and then the text will just kind of bloop. So let's grab our text, and I know that we're probably coming to the end of stream pretty soon.
Yeah, we got
here,
about 5
so-
minutes.
Okay, so I'm gonna add
Time to lock it.
want to be the final boss. Let's change this to a. I'm wondering if I break the border on this, but I don't think I do. I think we're gonna just line it up nice and. There we go. Let's do a different color for our fill. We're gonna do that orange. That's a little. That's bright, dog. that's bright, mommy. No.
I was like,
Yeah, that's pretty saturated.
I was gonna let you cook, but I don't know what we're
I had to
cooking.
stop myself. The voices were like, "Ease up, honey. Take a step back." So we're gonna do that, and then let's duplicate. And I just want to have a little PSA. I think we're gonna make the text smaller. We're gonna center it too. And we're gonna say something along the lines of, I might have to work on the copy for this, but it would be something like comment on our comment on the episode post on Instagram to be entered into the thing, because we but I'm like, how do I say that in like an attractive
comment
manner?
on our IG posts, because I'm trying to like size wise, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't want it super long.
Comment on our, we could say Insta.
What if it's just comment on Insta?
Yeah, comment on Insta.
Because we don't need our.
And then I can say myself, I can say, by the way, if you want to become, I can do like the longer spiel.
Yeah.
And then I will give our link to the mods, so that at that
can drop
point
it
during the
in.
stream, they'd be like, right here it is. So they don't have to go to, you don't have to go to Instagram and look. I'm not going to make you hunt for
I think
it.
that's good. Yeah, comment on Insta.
Comment on Insta. I'm going to say to enter.
Yep.
Enter the giveaway. Honestly, that's
To
kind of
enter.
nice. Right
I think
there.
it's good.
To
Yeah,
enter is
yeah.
perfect.
All right, I'm gonna give you a football term here.
Okay.
2-minute warning.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's football season, so.
I'm not a football person. Do you want some more Val lore?
Oh, here we go.
I've mentioned this before, but I've never really enjoyed football, but I was in marching band, so I did field shows for halftime.
Okay.
When I was in high school. So like football is not really my thing, but I like the halftime shows because I used to do that. I used to do like halftime competitions and stuff. I played the saxophone and the flute. I would march out there with all my stuff.
See, I grew up in the Northeast, so that's not really a thing in the Northeast.
You guys
like,
don't do like...
There are like band and marching band and stuff, but it's at nowhere near the scale that you have like in the South, especially.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Because I have cousins that grew up in Texas and things like that, and I mean their high school football stadiums down there are crazy.
Yeah,
let alone
nuts.
the marching bands and stuff. So.
You gotta have a big band when the community loves football like that. You gotta have, you know. And I know we're kind of coming up on the end of things right now, but like this is something that I would animate just like we animated the rest of it. I think I would still do like popping up, you know.
Keep
and then
the
same thing with out. Would just do a slide out and slide it down. And then I would have this guy, the animation just fade out.
Would you potentially do this one on and off screen just because it's so low? Or would you not do that one on this?
I guess you could do on and off screen. Yeah, that's
right.
probably the best. Start outside this.
Just because it's at the bottom already anyway.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. And we will preview it. Let's preview it.
What has Val cooked?
Oh. We want all of this, actually. Can we do this? We want this to begin here, and we want this to begin after it. Okay. Preview. Yeah.
Boom.
And then I think it needs to slide before I fade that other panel out, but I think you can kind of get the gist of where we're going with it. So that is my kind of intro to animating stuff for live streaming and things. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I've had awesome. a blast kind of creating like chroma keyable, I don't know what the term for that is, chroma keyable overlays with animations for OBS or whatever it is that you're using to stream.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But before we go, where can people find you? Where can people find the show?
Plug. You can find me on Instagram at voodoo.val. That's kind of the only social media I'm using right now. You can find the show on Adobe Live every other week if you want to. You can also go to the Adobe Live YouTube channel and Google search. That means search. And search Drawing a Blank, and you can find me and Cody hanging out. And there should be one episode with our new animations so far. So
awesome. Well, this has been dope. I've learned a lot.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see y'all next time.
Bye. Today we're going to be doing like mascot monsters. I love Mothman.
Okay, let's do Mothman.
You guys are going to see my sketch process. I'm making a new layer for each concept. So make a new layer and then I will select multiple and group them and work within this group. So when I create something that I like, that whole concept is grouped all together and I already have it organized. I just have to keep working within that. The little circle is like him. We're gonna have like this dramatic for his coat, whatever it is. This will come like something like that. I'm wondering if we give it a little dynamic tilt. I'm gonna turn this on a lower opacity. With the lower opacity, I'm able to kind of keep track of what I'm doing. And then I can come in and kind of solidify this a little bit more. As I'm painting, if I double tap that to highlight the center circle, I can then erase with whatever brush I have selected. He needs luscious lashes, I think.
Luscious.
And I don't know that I'm accepting critique on that design choice.
And so I'm just working on just like a little type lockup for us to have to create this kind of like
this is perfect
collegiate look.
Yeah, this is the vibe.
Yes,
for sure.
100%. Okay, back to you.
I'm trying to decide if he needs a slope for his nose, like so something like this, little nose blushies maybe on that little swoop. I feel like that could be enough.
And it feels like just enough.
Yeah. So I'm also going to start to detail his little coat. Basically over top of it, I will make it a lot more clean.
Okay, this is looking great.
With my lasso, I am going to do kind of a haphazard like outline, and it's gonna look like garbage for a second, and then it won't. So bear with me. We're gonna bring this underneath, and then we're gonna add some color.
Ooh.
I kind of like that.
I like the green outline, and then I wonder even that darker or like the lighter green for the...
Yeah.
This looks great.
Thank you. I wonder if we could just continue that up. I'm thinking one more weird outline around the edge, if that makes sense. Transform this and make it a little
Oh yeah, why not?
thicker. I'll say continue. I'm going to hide the background,
Yep.
and then I'm going to save, publish and export, come over to my Creative Cloud because I have a library prepared. I'm going to say upload photo from my very normal camera roll, like, you know.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to pop over to Express. Then I should have our PNG. And I'm going to go animation. And we're going to do like a nice little slide in. I think we can change our background color to...
Can you share this document with me?
Yeah.
Because if we are live collaborating, it's super easy on a document that I can put in the type that I've created, and I can copy and paste directly from Illustrator, and then you can keep working there in Express.
It would be cool to have like lines shoot out too, so it looks like it's coming in on like a shooting star streak, and I'm just gonna kind of stack them. All right, so if we have all of these, group those, and then let's go ahead and animate it.
It's there, we did it. Bye, everybody.
Bye! Howdy, strangers. Welcome back to Adobe Live. Thank you so much for either sticking with us or joining in for the first time today. My name is Voodoo Val, and I am joined by my good friend, Jesus. How are you, Jesus?
I'm doing good, Val. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. I'm excited to be streaming with you again.
Yeah, another time.
Yes, we've been all over the place, plastered all over Adobe Live today. And it's been fun. We've been having a good time. We're going to be working in Photoshop again today. We're going to be doing some advanced techniques, and I know that we kind of discussed this earlier, what we might be working on. So why don't you introduce yourself and give us the rundown, and we'll kind of dive into it.
Yeah, my name is Jesus Ramirez. I run a Photoshop YouTube channel called the Photoshop Training Channel, where I teach people to use Photoshop. I'm also a professional designer. We talked a little bit about that earlier. I don't want to waste too much time discussing what I do. If you're interested, you can go back and watch the stream, or I'm sure my Behance is on there as well. But basically, professionally, I create TV and movie posters for some networks you may have seen, Netflix, HBO, Hulu, Discovery, CBS, and others. So everything that I teach is in the context of professional design. So I try to keep things editable in my workflow. Everything needs to be editable. It needs to be modularized, so that like I don't like that table there, move it to the right, and I can easily drag it. So that's the context that I bring into everything that I teach.
Which is your stuff specifically in that content has saved a project or two of mine.
Oh, awesome!
Yes.
I'm glad it's helped. By the way, I saw a comment in the chat saying that I no longer have the scar on my forehead, and I don't know what they're talking about. I do remember somebody mentioning you have a scar on your forehead, and I remember thinking, that's the chat, or who knows what it was, but somebody just commented that. So
really?
Remind me what scar was on my forehead, because I haven't been injured. So
that's Jesus's alter ego.
Alter ego, yeah. I think you're watching the wrong Adobe Live. Or something.
that's like dark Jesus.
Yeah, there.
that's the anti-hero.
Yeah,
Jesus.
there you go. show. But yeah, so you know what? Why don't we just jump right in? I have so much to show that I don't want to waste time on like anything else. So earlier in the Adobe Live this morning, I mentioned about layer comps and how they could be used to showcase your work. So I'll quickly talk about what layer comps are, how they work, and how I actually used it on a real project. So this is actually an extension, a set. So basically that is real, and then everything else is not. Everything else I had to like fill in to extend the set. But one of my colleagues and I, Lisa Carney, were pitching a poster idea for CSI Vegas, and we wanted to show the client the talent in the office, both in daytime and nighttime.
Okay.
So we were talking about displaying projects, and I just saw a name I recognize in the chat, and I don't see the name anymore. But anyway, so in this drop down here in the properties panel, notice the word here, day, right? I can click on that and then switch it to night. And how do we do that? Layer comps. That's what we talked about earlier. This is obviously a much more complex example than what we showed earlier. Earlier is just a green box moving from left to right, on and off. But if you notice, this here is a smart object. When you double click on a smart object, it opens up in a new tab, and you're gonna get to see all the contents of this layer, and you can or that image, I should say, and you can see that there's some layers that are turned off and certain layers that are turned on. The layers that are turned on at the moment make up the daytime.
Okay.
And if I go into Window and choose Layer Comps, and I click on Night, some layers will turn off and others will turn on to make it seem like night. Specifically, the layers that are applying the color grade to the image to make it seem like it's nighttime. So that's what layer comps are. They allow you to show layers at different states, whether it's position, layer styles, or visibility.
Okay.
And then if all those layers are inside of a smart object, then the main composition, the main image, will have this drop down so you can select the appropriate layers here. So for example, here, maybe we have this particular style of nighttime, right? But we want to make it into like more of a greenish type of night scene. Maybe I can go into color balance here and make this one like green. So that's going to be just the theme. I can create a new one, call this one night green. I'm saving both the visibility and position of this layer, press OK. So now I can switch between, the different layers, and then it shows up.
Nice.
Since I can now, this is a smart object, so when I save the smart object, I can go into my working document, and it should update here on this drop down. So we have night, day, and night green. So I can select night green, and it shows up in my document. So so if you're working in a smart object and you create a layer comp, in the main document, you will have this drop down with all your different layer comps, so you can display works to your client. So in this particular case, I told my client, okay, we have this background that's nighttime, and we have this background that's daytime. Which one would you like to use? And obviously we had the talent and all that on top of there, and we were trying to pitch the idea.
Yeah.
So this is a longer answer to your question earlier.
But this is perfect because I can already tell exactly how I'm going to use this.
Okay.
Because I recently did a project where I was creating like graphics for like end credits for a show, or like title pages for show episodes, and the pages were styled so that it was like almost a composite of stuff laying on a table, and the team was trying to figure out like, well, do we want this item there, or should we be able to move this one? And it would be so cool to be able to do like different versions like that.
And then just select the one from the drop down very easily.
I'm going to be incorporating this into like all of my client projects from now on. This is blowing my mind.
And another cool challenge that this particular project had, this is why I like still working as a professional designer, because it brings up challenges that I would have never thought about in terms of like, oh, let me create a tutorial, So for example, in this case, we wanted to, this is CSI Vegas, right? So we wanted to get like the Vegas backdrop in day and night. But if we just find a picture, it's going to be very difficult or time consuming to make it look like night, or vice versa. Vice versa is probably impossible or very difficult. So like how would I have, you know, the same exact building in the daytime and then have the same exact building at nighttime? And let me know if you guys can think of a solution for that, because it took me a while. When I figured it out, I was like, oh yeah, this is perfect. This is gonna work great, and it's gonna be super easy.
I mean, if you could get lucky enough to find the same photos, or if you could take a screenshot from a video.
Exactly right. That's what I did.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Exactly right. So what I did is I went and, by the way, here's the tip. I don't know where the file that I'm looking for is, but I know that the file is next to this file. So when you have a tab, you can right click on it and choose Reveal in Explorer on Windows, Reveal in Finder on the Mac, and it opens up the location of that file, and I know that the video is here.
You just changed my life again. You just changed my life again.
And I'm just copying and pasting the path and then opening it up in Photoshop.
Okay.
Anyway, so I'm opening up that video. It'll take a second. So this is just a time lapse, right? So then you just find, this is a different video, by the way. The other one I couldn't use myself. But you can see now that I can just take a screenshot of, you know, morning and then a screenshot of nighttime, and it's the same exact building. So yeah, a video, yeah.
That is so clever and so perfect. And because it's like what I was thinking when you were switching back and forth, I had two thoughts. I was like, number one, gosh, how would I even approach compositing to make that scene look like it's nighttime instead of daytime? And then I thought, my second thought was, Jesus could do it. He could do it. Yeah. But this is like perfect because, and I might incorporate this in some way too, because I struggle to composite myself. I really do. And this is just one of those really clever tips and tricks that can help you going forward in your project.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things that, like, could I spend 10 hours and try to get something that looks relatively real? At least enough to show a client? Yeah, but I don't want to spend 10 hours. You know,
like, God, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah. So layer comps, very beneficial. And then now you have a new tip on using video for your composites, you know, just different states, you know, like this. You could also think about it if this was maybe like some sort of like, you know, like a Jedi with a lightsaber, nighttime, daytime, you know, like where will the sun be? You just get a time lapse of the sun, and now you can just choose different positions of the sun, and the lighting will be realistic on the environment. Because sure, can you create, you know, something that looks like the sun and drag it around? Absolutely. But then the rocks on the ground won't have the bright shadows and highlights and all of that, you know? So yeah, use videos for your composites. Cool. So that was number one. Earlier, I don't see the comment on there anymore, but I did read it, and somebody said it. This is the first stream they see me on since they saw a stream I did with Christine Arth, and that must have been in 2020.
Yeah,
so
that was a long time ago. I miss Christine. Christine was great. Christine's wonderful. Those were some of my favorite. In fact, I might have moderated for one of those. I feel like I remember that.
Absolutely. So let me show you guys now another cool technique using generative AI. So the whole point of this class is how do we use the new tools to create not something different or new, it's just a different way of creating, like essentially enhancing your creative toolkit, right? So I'm sure that this is like a common problem. You have a subject and then you do something like remove background because we want to make it seem like this bear is like looking at buildings or something. I have a background image here. And by the way, you can hold the shift key, click on the layer mask icon to disable the layer mask. What I'm going to do now is just do the quick selection tool, enable the quick selection tool, and just select this rock. Bring that back simply by clicking on it and fill with white. White is my foreground color, so I can press Alt backspace, Option Delete on the Mac. Control D to deselect. By the way, I'm going to just do a couple things. I'm just going to click on a bunch of layers. If I press Control Shift D, it brings back your last active selection. That's not undo. I can do as many adjustments or things in Photoshop as I want, but Photoshop always remembers the last selection that you have active. So if you press Control Shift D, it brings back your last active selection, no matter how many other things you've done. So that was another quick tip there.
Yeah, that's great.
Anyway, so one of the issues that we have now is, you know, this is a very common issue, that the fur is just not working. So how can we create a realistic selection? I like to tell people never be faithful to the real edges. Like in my job, I create the illusion of reality. So it's very, very difficult to like be pixel perfect on every strand of hair or anything. So what I like to do instead is just create my own edges because they look real and they're so much easier to do. So we would need a brush that paints fur on that edge. So how do we do that? Well, there's a lot of ways of doing it.
Yeah, I was like, I can think of some ways, but I want to see you do it.
Well, this is a brand new way. So if
Okay,
you think about it before I even do it, I'll be like super surprised, and I'll
Okay.
be like,
I mean, I have a few methods because I've had to do it myself,
Sure.
right? My initial thought would be I would select the outside and then kind of expand that selection to get rid of the green edge or whatever, and then I would come in with a hairbrush and kind of paint,
Right.
like you said, paint your own
Yeah.
edge. That would be my
well,
first.
hairbrush, but that's the thing. You either have to find one online or make one. So we're gonna make one, and hopefully the method that I'm gonna show you is completely new, and then
Okay.
people could learn.
I'm excited.
So we talked about, well, first of all, I'm going to go create a new document, and this new document is going to be 1024 by 1024, which at the moment, at the time of this recording, is the highest resolution for generative AI. So I don't want to create anything larger than that. I'm just going to work out as maximum resolution.
Okay.
What I'm going to do now is just do an ellipse, fill it with black, no stroke, and then just there we go. Holding shift just to create a perfect circle. And then when you're creating a shape, you can use the space bar and move it around as you create it. And maybe something like that. And then I'll press the V key and kind of place it in the center. I'm using the little pink guides there to tell me that it's right in the center. There we go. Then I can just save this. And the name doesn't matter, so I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm just gonna save it on my desktop. I already did one earlier, exactly the same thing. I'm not gonna overwrite it, but there it is.
Okay.
Why are we doing that? If you watch the first stream, you might remember that we made that graphic with the man screaming, having the stone and vines and leaves on his face. We're gonna use that same technique, but to create a brush now.
Oh.
I think you see where I'm going now.
Oh no.
If you go into
this is gonna change my
edit,
life again.
Generative Workspace, and what I'm gonna do now is create that essentially, a furball. The way that I'm gonna do that is by going into reference and uploading that as a composition reference. So like the outline, the depth, and we just have just that little circle right there. By the way, when you upload something, it's gonna stay here. So you can see all the times I've shown that same example. The black circle is there. So I'm just gonna select that. But if you've if you hadn't uploaded it before, just upload it. But it's the same thing, right? Just a black circle.
Yeah, yeah.
And all I'm gonna do now is just use the prompt black fur hairball on a white background. I'll click on generate, and it's gonna generate essentially one of these guys. See that?
Yeah.
And then you just pick the one. I'll see what comes up, and maybe there's better ones. I don't know. Every time you generate something is different than the time before, so maybe we'll get something better. So what I'll do now is just click on these, and you can see the edges. See that? See those edges?
Yes.
And that one's pretty good. That one's good too. So, just for funsies, why don't we go with, let me see which one I like better. I think I like this one a lot, actually.
Yeah.
So I'll go with that one. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on open, and it's just going to open it up in Photoshop. And now I can make a brush out of this, right? There's so many ways to make brushes. By the way, I'm just going to rasterize the layer because we don't need it to be like a generative layer.
No, yeah, we can just.
Rasterized layer. So now the icon is gone. That's just a regular pixel layer. Notice that there's a shadow right down here because the furball is sitting on a surface. We don't want that. So Control J to duplicate, Control T to transform, right click and choose vertical, and there we go. I'll hold Alt on Windows, Option on the Mac, and click on the layer mask icon. That makes a black mask, which hides everything. With the brush tool, I can just paint with white, and maybe I want a soft brush here. So I'm going to go into the general brushes here and make sure that my brush has a 0% hardness. And then I can just paint away or bring back the pixels of that hidden layer so that we have a nice furry edge. The center really doesn't matter. I'm worried more about the edges here at the bottom. So now I can merge these two by selecting them, holding shift and clicking on them, and Control E to merge them into one layer. Not that important, but just visually, you don't have to do this to create a brush, but I like doing it. Notice there's a little bit of color in there. I'm just gonna press Control Shift U to desaturate just to remove the color, and it just helps me see it better. And what we want is for the furball to be as black as possible and the background to be essentially white. You can think of it as black will be the ink and white will be the paper, so it's transparent. Image, apply image. And this is just taking the picture that you have and applying it to itself using a blending mode. In this case, the multiply blending mode, which will make the darker pixels darker, and that's pretty good. And then I want to have the background as white as possible. Notice that there's a lot of like noise and details there that I wouldn't want. So many ways of doing that. Image, I could have gone into like apply image again and done like a screen. So image, apply image, and then do maybe screen or something. But if I wanted more control, I could also do image adjustments and do something like curves where I make the darker pixels darker by clicking and dragging down. These are the darker pixels and the brighter pixels are up here. You can see that basically white should be here, but then we have these colors that are just off white. So I'm just going to click and drag this over to the left, and all those colors that were on the background here that were just off white are now white. Yeah, so I can continue making these adjustments just to try to get, and all I really care about is the edges, by the way. That's all I care about, the edges. When I'm done, I can press OK, and then I can, again, since the center part really doesn't matter, you can just leave it as is, but me being a little bit OCD, I gotta make sure that it is black, so I'm just gonna paint black, but it'll work if you don't paint it black, but I just want to, and it makes me happy, so that's what I'm gonna do.
Sometimes that's what you gotta do.
That's exactly what you gotta do. Yeah, anyway, so there we go. That's my furball. All I'm gonna do now is go into Edit and choose Define Brush Preset, and I'll call it Adobe, I can't spell, Adobe Live Fur Brush. Press OK. And if you have the brush tool active when you create a brush, that'll become the active brush. And there it is. What I'm going to do now, whoopsie daisy. What I'm going to do now is go into File, New, and I'm just going to work with like a really big document, like 2000 by 2000. And we're going to work with this brush because this is not, like when I paint, it's not really that impressive. So then what I can do is resize my brush by tapping on the bracket keys. We talked about that earlier. To the right of the letter P, who knows what the new shortcut is. I remembered it earlier, I already forgot it. But anyway, so I'm gonna make this smaller and I'm just gonna paint. That's what that looks like, not bad. But then I can click on this icon and use the brush settings here to make adjustments. For example, go into Shape Dynamics, increase the size jitter, which makes every brush tip a different size. By the way, all brushes are just one stamp. There you go, right?
Yeah.
So like, it's just literally, I'm gonna create a new layer to show you guys, just one stamp, right? And then you create a second one, and then you create a third one, and you create another one. So this is really what Photoshop is doing behind the scenes.
Yes.
But what if, instead of just creating one that's identical, we created another one that is not identical. So maybe we create another one, but then this one rotates a little bit and is just a different size, right? And then what if we create another one and that one's also different, a different size, and we rotate it a little bit? That creates a much more interesting and realistic edge, more organic.
Yeah.
So that's what we're gonna do by applying the following settings. So with the brush tool active, I can come here into Shape Dynamics, increase the size jitter so all the brush tips are different sizes. And then adjust the angle so that they'll rotate a little bit. I can play around with the scattering to scatter them a bit, or maybe add more or less. I think for what we're doing now, this is good. And look at that edge.
That is so good.
See that edge right there? That's gonna be so much better than anything I could select.
I love this so much. The possibilities are insane too, because literally if I always need texture brushes, always. There's so much that I could do with this. I'm gonna have a blast. And then you could go in and you could paint a new edge on the top of that bear, and it would be perfect.
Yeah, exactly. So again, you don't have to be faithful to the original edge because you'll never get it. You just won't, you know? So it's better to just create your own edge.
Yeah.
So like, I can guarantee you that 100% of the movie posters you see, at least, that's my world, the edges are never faithful to the original edge.
Well, and that comes from, gosh, how many hours do you reckon you've spent trying to recreate something like that?
Oh, God, a ton.
Or trying to, actually perfect. I can remember one time trying to, honestly, it happens with photos of myself, back in the day, because, trying to chroma key, I love the studio because they chroma key around, but, you take your own photo and try to, cut around so much hair or fur or whatever, it takes forever, but you get, I don't know, I think we all come to a point where we're like, I can do it.
Yep.
And then you do it and you hate every step.
Yeah, absolutely.
You hate every moment of it.
Absolutely. Another one of my favorite tools is, I'm going to zoom in so you can see the edge of this bear. You can click on the layer mask here. A lot of people don't know this, and I always like to give shout outs to people when they show me something I didn't know when it comes to Photoshop. And even though I've known for this tool now for many years, the first time I heard about this tool was from my good friend Lisa Carney, who's also like an excellent movie poster designer, creator person. Finisher is her actual title, my actual title as well. But anyway, so if you're going to filter other minimum, there's this filter designed to contract and expand the mask, right? So, you know, I learned about this filter many years ago, but she was the one that showed it to me, and I was like, I cannot believe I didn't
realize you could do it on a mask, though.
Yeah, so see, it contracts the mask. See that? It should do it in just a second. Come on. Here, let me do the, oh, there you go. You see how it just made it? So, see that?
Oh, I love it.
And if you use roundness, it allows you to use decimal points, and squareness is just whole numbers.
Okay.
So, you know, 1415 as opposed to 14.2.
Okay.
So then I'm just gonna, you know, be pretty dramatic here and go pretty far in, maybe something like that, and I'll press OK. Now what I'm gonna do is in the properties panel, I can decrease the density of this mask, which allows me to see. This is almost like if I show you the mask. Oops, Alt and Windows Option on the mask. The mask is really black, but density fools Photoshop into thinking is that shade of gray, which means that now you'll be able to see the background. And the reason that's important is now with this brush, I can come in here and, you know, like don't go over the edge, so to speak. So I'm just gonna make this larger and just paint the edges here like so. And I don't wanna get that highlight. And the reason that I don't wanna get that highlight is because my light source on this image is, I'll show you, is here. So then he wouldn't have a highlight behind them.
Yeah,
see that?
yeah.
So I'm just trying to create those shapes so that I get good enough fur, but it also like doesn't get the stuff I don't want. So anyway, so I'm just gonna zoom in here, and I'm gonna go quickly here because again we don't have a lot of time, and there's so many more things I want to show you. But I'm gonna be sloppy here. Okay, so it's not gonna be the perfect mask here. I am gonna be sloppy. I am gonna get some of those highlights, but I just wanted to show you that I would have kept that in mind had I not had a time constraint, you know. So and this is going to look just so much better than anything I would have selected. And anyway, for the sake of time, we're just going to call this good. But you can see how these edges are much better than anything I would have selected.
Yeah.
What I would do at this point is some of the images that you may work with will not have like perfect sharp edges. They'll have a little bit of depth of field, so it'll be a little bit blurry. You can do a couple things. If the depth of field is uniform across the entire image, you can just select the layer mask, go into filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and just blur the mask accordingly so that the blur matches the image. If you have areas where it's more blurry in some parts, less blurry in others, what I recommend you doing is going into the blur tool and simply paint those edges like so. The next step that I would do here is, you know, maybe blur these a bit more so that it matches the image, kind of like that. Then I would create a new layer, clip it to the layer below, and just use the color of the fur because he does have some highlights in there, right? And maybe I would use a different brush, maybe just like the regular soft round brush here. Decrease my brush size and just select like a highlight color, like I don't know, one of these would probably work. Enable the mask, and now, oops, this layer, and now I can just paint on this area. Now I'm gonna go in heavier handed than I would normally would, just so you can see what I'm gonna do now. So then what I would do is I would paint this like so, but then we have that brush again, right? The one we just made. And now if you hold the tilde key, which is the key to the left of the number 1 in North American keyboards, you can now erase with the tool you're using. So I kind of create that edge, but on the other side. See that? And then I would come in there and then just blur that in. So the fur looks more realistic. Obviously, that's just too intense. I wouldn't really do it this intense, but I wanted you guys to see.
But it creates that really, like, I can see how you could make like a really natural rim light for like on the fur.
Yeah, and if you zoom, it doesn't look that bad.
Yeah, it doesn't. I was gonna say that like it's starting to read as what you intended. That is outrageously cool, Jesus.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
I'm really enjoying it because I know I'm going to use it, and I know it's going to save me time, and it's going to be satisfying when I do that. We do have some requests in chat for a Val hairbrush, and honestly, that might be what I might do.
Yeah.
Because I've had to Photoshop myself so many times, and the only reason why I've never actually used the hair, like painting hair around the edges of like my own photos, is because I'm like, I'm gonna show up though, and they're gonna know my hair's not shaped like that. So I might do it.
Absolutely. I hope everyone is using the latest version of Photoshop, which allows you to hold the tilde key and then erase. But just in case you are not. When I press the key, can you guys tell what's happening? Can you guys see on screen what's happening?
Yes.
Yeah, something's happening, right? What's happening here is that Photoshop is just temporarily enabling a blending mode called Clear, which is right here. And Clear is basically the eraser tool. Now, why use Clear? Why not go into the eraser tool? Well, if I don't even know where the eraser tool is because I rarely. Oh, here you go. Rarely use it.
That's really telling. Yeah, that's actually cool.
Yeah. So when I select the eraser tool, notice that I have a different brush. So I would have to go in here and match the brush settings and then come in and paint. But if I'm using the brush tool and switch the blending mode to Clear, I'm erasing with the same brush I have active, and it uses the same brush tip, so it looks more cohesive.
Yeah.
Instead of selecting Clear in newer versions of Photoshop, I think it's Photoshop 2021, if I'm not mistaken, give or take a year, you can hold the tilde key to temporarily enable the Clear mode, and then it becomes, like an eraser, and then when you release the key, it goes back to the blending mode you had active.
Yeah, that's a go-to for me all the time. I use that every time I'm in Photoshop, darn near.
Yep. Absolutely. Let me look at the time. We got half an hour. Cool. I just trying to decide what to show and what not to show because we don't have enough time for everything.
I know, but I will say though we've got some lovely comments and stuff in the chat. I wish I could scroll up, but I've caught a few of them, and one of them was something that I definitely agree with, and I have always thought, and I'm sure we are not alone in the chat, is that you have this way of explaining things that are like pretty complicated processes in a way that makes us feel like we could just jump in and start doing it,
Thank you.
which is really hard to do. It's really hard to do that because sometimes I get it's hard to stumble through like a really detailed explanation of something, but I always come away feeling like I could do something that previously I thought was impossible for me. And I'm sure, like I said, that we are not alone in the chat. So thank you.
Thank you. You can keep going. I'm
okay. I've got a list. I'll move down the list. But a lot of Daryl is actually saying he did manage to catch this morning, and the amazing tips that you shared there as well. And excited to be here a whole stream later. True professional master at work. I agree, Daryl. I agree.
Thank you. You know what? So talking about the first stream, there was a couple of things that I didn't show that I was like, oh yeah, I forgot to talk about that. So let's. Why don't we go? But this is more advanced, so then I guess it kind of fits the more advanced thing. So one of the cool things about the remove tool is two new features found under this dropdown. Find distractions. By the way, we're going to create a new layer to work non-destructively. We talked about that in the first stream. Sample all layers. So what kind of distractions can Photoshop find? There's the one-click removals and the editable. Editable just means you can make adjustments to what it selects.
Okay.
One-click removal, it just means it's just going to do it. You know? So this image has a lot of wires and cables. As you can see, you can click on wires and cables. And to no surprise, Photoshop will remove all the wires and cables, and it looks incredible.
Yeah.
Now, one of the downsides is that Photoshop got confused and thought that this is a wire that needed to be removed. See that? And also, for whatever reason, this is another wire that it thought it needed to be removed.
I didn't even notice that.
So a lot of the times, these tools are so good, but maybe too good because, yes, Photoshop is right. That is, in fact, the cable, a wire that it is in the image and it removed it, but we don't want that wire to be removed.
We don't hate all wires.
Not all wires.
Photoshop.
Not all
Only
wires.
Only some of them.
Only some of them. Yeah. So what do you do? Well, very simple. This is just a layer, right? This is why you want to work non-destructively. It's just a layer. So I can click here to create a layer mask, and I can come back and paint with black. Black hides. So I want to hide the pixels that were generated that really don't make this image look any better. Paint with black. And there we go. We bring back those wires so that this looks like a good image once again.
Nice.
So just because it says one-click removal, it doesn't mean the work is done. Sort of what I was talking about earlier, that I can't just tell Photoshop with a prompt, make the perfect image, because it won't. So you still have to know masking, you have to know all these different techniques that make generative AI even more powerful, because now you're just not stuck with the result. The result helps you to accomplish your goal.
Yeah, I agree.
So before and after, see that? So now the bike is there, and if there's like a little, like for example here, I'm not liking the result. See that? So what I would do here, if this were a real project, I would just paint with black, make sure that this looks really, really good, and now just worry about that little cable there, and that's just a very simple job.
Yeah.
I can just create a new layer. I'm still working with sample all layers in my all layers here. Generative AI is on. I don't think I need it for something so simple. I'll just use auto and let Photoshop decide, and then just simply paint over that area and have Photoshop fix that for me. That didn't look too good, so maybe I can try it one more time and see if it works. That's a little better. Anyway, keep trying till it works, but I think you get the idea. That's much better there.
Yeah.
So really quickly, I was able to remove all the wires, but keep the ones that I want.
I love that.
And just for the purposes of demonstration, we have this image here with tourists. The other option in the drop-down was editable. You click on people, and it'll make a selection out of the people it finds in the image.
Oh, okay.
But if you notice, it didn't really get everything. The guy's foot or feet, lady, whatever that is, it wasn't selected, so I can just continue painting, and I just will paint along the edges here to get a good result. Just because I tried this in the past, I know I'm going to get better results if I use generative AI.
Okay.
The guy's leg here also is showing. So again, it didn't do a perfect job, but it did a good, I accidentally switched tools, so I lost my selection. So I'll do that one more time. Editable. I should have committed the changes. So it'll find it again, and I'll quickly make a selection here so it fixes the imperfections. And I can just come in and click on that check mark or press the enter or return key to commit the changes, and it's going to do a really, really good job.
I'm excited.
And there you go, everyone's gone.
Ooh, not bad.
I didn't do it on a new layer, so this is an example that now I can't really show the before and after unless I undo.
Yeah.
Another reason why you would want to work on a blank layer, besides undoing and me showing you the before and after, is that, I'm going to do it one more time, I'm not going to worry about the feet and the leg there, just to work a little faster. But another thing that you can do is, for example, maybe this is like a friend of ours, and even though he's in the background and somewhat distracting, we know who he is, you know, so we want to keep him, so you can just hold Alt on Windows option in the Mac and paint away, and then, you know, commit the changes, and then everybody else disappears except for that guy there standing crossing his arms.
Except for my buddy Tony in the back,
Tony,
who really wanted to be a part of this moment.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe she was taking a picture of Tony in the background, and then she turned around, and, you know, that's the story.
And Tony's like, sup? You know, this is the BTS, you know,
exactly.
Reel.
Exactly.
Loving it.
So yeah, so that's that. Let me see what else I have for you guys here. I always forget, so I just look at the names. I'm like, oh yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah. Jose is saying that on his bucket list is being able to meet you in person to shake your hand.
Oh, Jose, that's super sweet. I really appreciate that, and I appreciate all the comments you leave on my YouTube videos. Even though I probably don't reply all of them, I do try to at the very least like them. So thank you so much. Cool. So. Another thing that generative AI is really good for is retouching. I don't think a lot of people see that, but earlier in the previous stream, I was showing you guys my Behance, and I would say every post is starting from like this one. I've used a lot of generative AI in retouching. For example, in this one, I used it a lot. Also, Lynn Fraser, because if you get a photo from like a studio and they're like, we like this photo, but then there's something obvious like messy hair or unkept hair, you have to fix it, of course. And then, you know, before it used to be a lot of cloning, you know, things like that. Now it's so much easier with generative AI. You just make a selection out of the areas that you don't like, and oops, that was a remove tool, not the brush tool here, the selection brush tool. I guess that would be one reason why you would change the color. We talked about changing the color earlier. I guess that would be one reason.
Yeah, so your remove tool could be magenta and your selection tool could be blue.
Yeah, sure.
So you know. Okay. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. So then you can just make a selection out of the unkept hair, leave the prompt blank, click on generate, and then Photoshop will generate new hair, and hopefully it'll be nice that we can use for our image.
I'm thinking though, please put a little hat. Please
put a little hat, yeah, or like a little bow. No, it actually did a good job.
Nice.
Yeah, so now you just pick the one you like best, and in this case, I don't know, we'll call this one good.
Yeah.
So there you go, his hair is fixed. That's so much easier than doing it this way than what it was before. Another thing you can do, and I've shown this on previous Adobe Live. So this is actually the before, or I'm sorry, the after image. The before image is that. So in this case, what I did is just simply needed to remove the shadows on her face. Same technique, just paint with it with the selection brush tool, like so. I prefer to work in separate pieces because what if you get like a great forehead but not such good cheek? So this way I can focus on a specific area. When I'm done with the forehead, I'll move on to the rest of the image.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's sometimes how it is, and I have been experimenting, and I've used it in some projects, usually for stuff like this, like touching up things, blending elements together when need be, and stuff. But I haven't been using the selection tool quite like this, so maybe this is what I need to kind of, step up to the next level with it.
I gotta be frank with you. When I first saw the selection tool, I was like, we don't need a selection tool, and now I use it all the time.
And now here you are.
Here I am,
heating it up.
I can admit when I'm wrong. Anyway, so obviously this is a somewhat tedious process, definitely much easier than what it used to be. But this is those little retouching things that you can use generative AI for that I don't think a lot of people think about. I think a lot of people think about generating like a full face rather than just a tiny little thing.
Yeah.
And like this is actually a good example. So like I didn't really get a result, and sure I can regenerate the whole thing, but it looks pretty good here on the left. It looks good here, so maybe I can just generate on top of this and see what I get.
Yeah.
Something like that. And now I don't have to like start from scratch. Just working one step at a time.
Yeah, I love it. I'm just remembering using like CS2, CS3, like doing this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, these like kind of going over and over again and doing things maybe gets a little tedious, but man, this is magical.
It's super cool.
This is magical.
That's a great word, magical. Adobe Magic, as they used to say. And there we go. Obviously, you keep doing this over and over and over again, and eventually you get to my final result, which was that.
Yeah.
So,
nice.
And this is the type of stuff that you don't really think, or most people don't think about using for generative AI, because most people be like, oh, let's add a ring, let's add a shirt, but. In reality, the work we've always done, at least in my world, is retouching. That's what we're doing here.
Yeah. Adobe Cadabra.
Adobe Cadabra. Cool. Also, I have another example here for you guys. I've done this example with different tools, but I'm going to show you like a new tool.
Okay.
Here we go. It's like, where is it? Cool. So we wanted to design a record cover. For a record called Heartstrings. We can of course go into Adobe Stock and find a lot of great images, or the way I used to show this was by using the generate image background, which, by the way I used to do this is like 6 months ago, just because there's so much stuff coming out so fast.
Yeah.
That like every 6 months, it's like, you know what, there's a better way of doing it.
Let's try it again. But it's really like as new features come out and as people start using it, and either people checking out beta features and stuff and kind of giving feedback. And we were talking in the previous stream. Adobe listens to that feedback. They have people who go through there and check out what you guys have to say. That's why it's so important to use things like user voice and to visit the HelpX website and stuff, because they are paying attention to what people say. So hence the new updates.
There you go. So instead of generate image, we can use a feature we looked at today already, the Generative Workspace, right? So I'm thinking that for this album cover, I would like a like a textured background, and I'm thinking like papered, right? So I can type in something like grunge paper texture. So grunge paper texture, and I can come in here and do my references and my effects and all that. The only thing I'll select is photo because I don't want like anything that doesn't look like an actual photo. So I'll click on that, and then I'm gonna use my background here is a square, the one that I'm using. Like if you remember, that's just a square.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna use a square and see if that generates something that will fit perfectly on there. So grunge paper texture. And I could generate something else now if I wanted to. I could change the prompt to like line paper or something like that if I wanted to. But for the sake of keeping it simple, I'm just gonna leave it as is. So now I can come in here and choose which one of these I like best. And even though none of these are perfect, I think this is closer to what I had in mind. And I can Photoshop it to make it look more like what I wanted, right?
You can add to it.
Yeah. So talking about add to it, click on add to, and add it to the generate image PSD, which is I think the one we're working on. Yeah, that's the one we're working on, and add it as a separate layer or a variation layer. Separate layer is fine. Variation layer just means that image with all the variations.
And to clarify on that, it knows that you have Photoshop open and you have files open, so you can either add it to an existing file that you've got open,
absolutely,
or start something new with
it.
Amazing.
That's exactly right. Excellent way of putting that together. Anyway, so this is gonna work, but it's not really what I want. So then, this is Photoshop, right? So maybe do like a hue and saturation, reduce the saturation because it's not really what I want, and maybe I wanted more of like a brown, and I don't really like the vignette. So then maybe I can just, make this larger so we lose the vignette, a little bit, and make those type of adjustments and until we get something that works for you. In this case, I also maybe still too bright. So maybe, or I'm sorry, not bright enough. So maybe I can make it brighter, something like that. We'll call this good. So I'm just gonna put this into a group, and I can just call this background, right? So now I got my background. Great. So now I want like my actual the centerpiece of this, right? So I can go into image. Edit. Generative Workspace, and I can type broken heart, because they're pulling on people's heartstrings. This is a sad it's a breakup album.
I will play a violin.
While
you design.
Yeah, please. Broken heart made out of yarn, right? And it still has the photo setting, and I can go in here into effects and maybe go to materials, and I think there's like a yarn. Yep, here we go, yarn, right?
Nice.
There, yarn.
Wonderful.
So then broken heart made out of yarn. We'll see what we get. I'll click on generate. Oh, you know what I should have done? I should have typed like on a white background.
Yeah.
So that it's easier to mask if it's, well, but we'll see what we get. I don't know what we'll get.
Sometimes when I generate, it usually puts it on a blankish background.
Yeah.
That's actually not bad.
I might go with this one, but just to compare, on a white background.
From my experience, if you generate an object, unless you have a setting other than like the photo filter on, it typically gives you at least a plain or a solid-ish background in the back.
I like these. This one's too funky. I kind of don't like how that one's breaking, but so we're gonna use this one just because I want to use that shadow so I can show you guys a technique.
Okay.
You know what? Just for this, I just don't like. I like how this one is broken. That one's broken really well. I could probably use this one, but the shadow wouldn't be as good because it has texture. But if nothing good comes up, we'll use that one.
Okay.
We'll just go with this one. This is not exactly my favorite, broken heart, but we'll go with it for the sake of time. Add to generate image, add. The reason that I'm going with this one is because it has a lot of things we can use for like different techniques to show you guys.
Okay.
So first things first, we need to remove the background. So I'm just going to convert it to a smart object, and then I'm going to click on remove background here, and it removes the background. It does a pretty good job, but then we can come in here and then just make adjustments to those imperfections. So why don't I do that now, just super quick. Of course, for the interest of time, I'm just going to do it fast. So click, hold shift, click again, and it draws a straight line between those 2 points. And I'm just going to get that in there, maybe get that one there, and we'll call this good for now. And I maybe bring up some pixels because that looks too skinny. Great. We'll code that good for now. Oh, wait, there's another loop-de-loop here. All right, this is the last loop I'm fixing. If there are more, then too bad. But there you go.
2 hours later.
2 hours later. Exactly. Exactly right.
I do it too. I only joke because I know that feeling.
Yep. So what I'm going to do now is I really like that shadow, so I'm going to bring that back. Control J on the bottom layer here. What I can do now is basically just delete this layer mask for now, and then change the blending mode from normal to multiply. And now I have that shadow there. See that?
Okay, yeah.
And since a blending mode is essentially blending the current layer with the layer below based on opacity in this case, or not opacity, excuse me, luminosity, brightness, I can choose something like curves, click on the layer below, and then I can make that shadow more intense, less intense, and I can, play around until I get something that looks good for the image that I'm working with.
Yeah.
See that? So that's why I wanted a shadow that I could work with, so I could show you guys this technique. So right away, we're getting something that looks fairly realistic and convincing without too much work,
Yeah, I agree. I think that's one of those things. It's like kind of a simple trick, but if you never think of it, then number one, you spend a whole bunch of time trying to create one, like a shadow for the item, and number two, it's like it is the shadow for the object. It's the best possible solution for the issue. So I definitely will try that as well.
There we go. And then I can, just scale this if need to, put it in the center, whatever, however you want your design to look. What I can do now is this one here. I can work with this to make it look better, and there's so many ways of doing that. What I would probably do here is just go into Filter, Camera Raw Filter, and then just use the Camera Raw Filter to make this, really pop. So maybe I can bring down the highlights a little bit. Yeah, maybe the shadows as well. I probably go under Effects and just increase the texture just to make the texture pop. Clarity, I'm probably, being heavy-handed here, but that's okay. Maybe give it a little bit of grain to just make it look a little more, less digital, I would say.
Yeah.
I'll press OK, and there we go. Before and after, we just give it a little bit of a umph.
Yeah.
Before and after, great. So what's next? I also want another design underneath here. There's more like a hand drawing of like an actual heart, maybe with flowers in it. So what I could do, once again, go into Edit, Generative Workspace, and I can click that. I don't think I'm gonna stick with the photo. What I will do now is just type flowers in the shape of a heart, but I'm going to use a reference. I'm going to go into my reference. This time I will use a style reference. Click on Browse Gallery, and if you scroll down, you'll see that Adobe has this image here for you to use. It's of like a tiger, but it's like hand-drawn, and that's exactly what I have in mind. I'll click on Upload. It's going to bring it into my style reference here in just a second. There it is.
Nice.
I'll increase the strength, so it's very much like it. Maybe 90. We'll see how 90 works. And then I'll click on Generate. So my goal is to get a hard shape drawing, but made out of flowers.
Nice.
You
Okay.
know? So we'll give it just a second here.
Sweet. Also, just a reminder, we do have maybe 5 minutes or so. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Maybe 5 minutes or so left before we take off for the day. So if you have any last minute questions or need any of the helpful links that Jesus has shared throughout the streams, I know we had a few that we were sharing, especially earlier. Definitely ping our mods for the links. Mods, if you have those links still, you can toss them in the chat. Yeah, let us know if you have any last minute questions.
Yeah, thank you. We'll do the same thing again. Add to, go into the generate image PSD we've been working on, add a separate layers, and it's exactly what I had in mind. Looks fantastic. I'm just gonna put that right down here. By the way, you don't have to click and drag. You can use Control and the bracket keys to move layers up and down the layer stack.
I didn't know that.
So then, because I work with 2 monitors, so then like if the layers panel is here and then I'm working over here, I don't want to be moving my mouse over.
That's a great yeah, because I have a 4 monitors. I have 3 monitors and a Cintiq. So yeah, I should probably be doing that.
Yeah, with whatever layer selected, you can press Control, right bracket key to move the layer up, left bracket key to move the layer down. But the cool thing is if you hold Control, Shift, right bracket key, it moves the layer to the top of the layer stack of the group that it's in. And then you do it one more time, it'll go to like the very top.
Okay, perfect.
Anyway, so Control, Shift, left bracket, and then I'll move up one at a time. So I want that one right there. I'll change the blending mode to multiply, and then maybe make the heart a little bit smaller so we can see more of the background, like so. And then, you know, if I don't like that being that color, so maybe I can do like image adjustment, hue and saturation, click on colorize, and then just choose like, yeah, that yellow's kind of cool. Like, I was thinking more like a brown. And there we go.
I've never used the colorize setting. What's the difference, if you don't mind me asking?
Sure, between that and the adjustment layer, or what do you mean?
Yeah, so when you pulled it up, I've done like hue and saturation adjustments and stuff, but I've only ever just done the sliders. I've never selected colorize, and I don't know what.
Oh, got it, colorize.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I'll show you when an adjustment layer is really the same thing on both. If you know, same thing here, hue and saturation. So what this adjustment layer does is I'll drag it up so it's easier to see. You have a hue, right? And you can just shift the hue, meaning whatever the color is in the color wheel, now I'm shifting it over. So in this case, it's moving over to the blues, and you know, eventually it'll make that green, right? So I'm shifting hues. What colorize does is it just makes everything the hue that you have selected on the slider. So right now yellow, but I can make everything blue. You can see the gradient right above, or red, or whatever it is. It just changes the hue of all the pixels in that layer
to whatever
it's pointing to.
But
and
if not, then it's whatever color it already was. We're shifting it slightly from that, which is why you got more.
Yeah, like orange.
Gotcha.
Yeah, or in this case, going into like the blues. You know.
Good to know. Good to know.
There we go. So anyway, so what I did here is just basically the same thing, but on a smart filter. So then I could, you know, double click on here and then control it if I want to add more saturation, less. But at this point, all I'm really doing now is just, you know, making adjustments. Everything is too, probably too low. So I can just maybe move this up a little bit, maybe scale it. Yeah, it's okay. You know, something, I don't know, you know, something like that. I want to keep the text legible.
Yeah.
So, you know, but the point is that I'm using all these tools, new tools, to create and design better. It's not replacing me as a designer. I could have gone into Adobe stock and probably spent an hour or two finding like the right assets to Photoshop them together, but I don't need to do that. Generative Workspace gives me what I want. And like we saw in the brush tool example, I can influence the generation by creating that reference.
Yeah, exactly. And I think kind of what you were saying earlier, I know we have not that much time left, but these are tools that can help you move through your workspace. But I'm of the mind kind of that, like, if you didn't have all of your knowledge and know-how and stuff, you wouldn't know where to put the elements that you made. You know, you do have to have that knowledge and stuff behind it to make it look good.
Yeah.
And I think that you did that today, and I'm definitely going to be using some of these things.
Amazing.
But we are kind of at the end of time here. Thank you all so very much for joining us. Jesus, where can we find you online? Where can we see your tutorials and everything?
Photoshop Training Channel on YouTube is the place where you'll find everything. The link to everything else is there. Photoshop Training Channel on YouTube. Or photoshoptrainingchannel.com, the website.
Awesome. Well, definitely give that a look-see, folks. We got the links in chat. Thank you so much, Adara. It has been a blast streaming with you, as always. My friend.
Thank you.
And we will see you another time.
Bye, everybody. Thank you, Val.
Bye, guys.